Insta-love is a plague, it's a curse, it is a pox on all our houses, okay? Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and this is Shelby Reads, where we talk about Sapphic books all day, every day, all year round. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can hear more about Sapphic books through this Pride season. It's gonna be a rough one, I fear, like it is every time the disgusting orange man is president. Today we are talking about Truly, Madly, Deeply by Clare Dugmore. It is a adult contemporary romance. Like usual, when the book is short, I'm not going to spoil anything, but do you remember when we were all kids and we were all running around singing "This is the song that never ends"? That's this book. It was the book that never ends. I wish it wasn't. Truly. Truly, Madly, Deeply. So first off, here are my disclaimers. Number one, this review is not for the author, stans, or fans of this author's work. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinion, and if you really love it, great for you. However, I don't have to love it and you won't like being here. Number two, this review will contain all of the spoilers. You've been warned, so if you want to go read the book and then come back, I get it, I get it. Number three, I'm not bashing Sapphic books. I think we deserve varying qualities of Sapphic books, but I'm allowed to come on the internet and complain about them just like any bisexual, straight, ace, literally anyone else is allowed to do that. This is my channel. If you don't like it, please leave. So, as usual, Editing Shelby might have to pop back in and list some more, but here are the trigger warnings. Hi, Editing Shelby here. I just want to make sure that we get all the triggers that are necessary. So, alcohol, animal cruelty, biphobia, body shaming, cultural appropriation, cursing, death of a parent, emotional abuse, fat phobia, forced institutionalization, grief, hate crime, homophobia, infidelity, lesbophobia, mental illness, misogyny, physical abuse, pregnancy, racism, sexism, sexual content, and sexual harassment. Oh, and just kidding. Toxic relationship and violence. Now we're done. We start chapter 1 with Sabrina. Sabrina is a single mother who is arguing on the phone with her ex-husband Elliot. He's begging Sabrina to pick up their daughter Piper because Scarlett is sick. I still think that's Elliot's new girlfriend, but I'm not really sure. We'll find out when we go together. And I might do like a read, rant, review style, like who's who up in the corner here, simply because there are a lot of characters and even I was like, why are there so many people? But Elliot was supposed to have her tonight and then bring her to school in the morning. Sabrina is very frustrated because her ex neglects all of his responsibilities. Preach, girl. I know what that's like. He uses the good old trick of, well, what if we get Piper sick too? So Sabrina caves and says that she can leave work early. Elliot says that he will make it up to their daughter, but Sabrina knows it's just one of his empty promises. Sabrina's worried because she has to talk to her boss about leaving early, and he's sometimes very nice and then sometimes he blows up about really random stuff, but she has to go talk to him, and she pops one of her top buttons off of her blazer because her boss is a pervert. She literally says this. And then she tells him that she needs to leave to pick up Piper because Elliot, the father, can't. And her boss says, yeah, sure, as long as you make it up tomorrow. And she's frustrated because she was going to take Piper to the pet store tomorrow. So she thinks she'll just have to have her brother and her brother's wife, Luke and Natasha, take Piper to the pet store. But I also gotta ask, why are we getting a pet from a pet store in this day and age? Can we please try rescue? I simply say this because of the horrifying conditions, okay? Do your research, okay? Especially for small animals. But she doesn't really have another choice, so Sabrina agrees she will make it up tomorrow. We jump to her being almost 15 minutes late to pick up Piper, and she sees Piper with another kid and thinks, well, thank God, at least I'm not the only one late for pickup. I know that this isn't her fault, but at the same time it kind of is because she knows that her ex will fall through most of the time. Coach pulls down their hood and turns at the sound of my heels clicking on the tarmac. I almost dropped my satchel. Coach is a woman. From her build, I assumed she was a guy. The muscles certainly indicate so, but when she turns to face me, I see Coach has jaw-length blonde hair, stunning blue eyes, and a pretty face. Well, it would be pretty if she didn't look ready to kill me, and with guns like hers, I reckon she could do it with her bare hands. There's a love interest, guys, in case you were wondering. Also, I'm not loving the little bioessentialism of, with those muscles in her build, she, like, it indicates that she should just be a man, and I'm like, what? I know that this character thinks she's straight. We were in another one of these guys. Jesus. But like, why are you pretending that women can't be muscular? The hell? The coach looks her up and down, but she looks like she's sneering a bit until she smiles because Sabrina apologizes for being late. And the coach says it's no problem because Piper and Tegan were happy to spend time together. But then the coach says, just be on time next time in the future. This is during my free time and I have to take Tegan home and we have to make dinner. And Sabrina feels like an idiot and she is now beating herself up again for being the only one late. She explains that her ex was supposed to get Piper, so she had to get her, but she was stuck in traffic because she was coming from work. The coach says to the kids, come on, Piper's mom is here. It's time to go home. And Piper says, where's my dad? And again, Sabrina just explains that Scarlett is sick. Piper looks very disappointed. And this makes Sabrina even more angry. Tegan rushes over and brings a frog with her. This girl knows what's up. She did it to try and cheer Piper up. But she'll probably come out as non-binary any minute now. There's just something about frogs and non-binary people, guys. The coach apologizes to Sabrina for jumping to conclusions. But her original point is still really valid in my opinion. Like, you can't be late just because your ex sucks. Like, once in a while, sure, but like, you know he sucks. And he hasn't been with her since Piper was like a year and a half, so you should definitely know by now because this kid is 10. I just wrote like in my notes, whatever happened to backup plans? You know, like, why don't you have an extra person? What happened to the whole that you need a village? Sabrina thinks they're bonding over being single parents, which they are, but she's creeping on the coach's ring finger just to extra make sure, I guess. But it's also crazy that she's doing this when you see where this book goes. Again, thinks she's straight. Crazy. And the coach is like, I'll give you a pass this once, it's fine. And Sabrina is blushing and doesn't know why. Gasp! She and Piper go to the car to go home. And then it's here that we learn that the coach's name is Rhea and she's originally from England. And Sabrina couldn't really place her accent. And I'm like, you don't know what British people sound like? Okay. Piper is really perceptive though and asks if her dad forgot her or if Scarlett really is sick because he's apparently done that before. And he just buys expensive gifts to make up for it. And he just basically gets to be the fun parent. But no matter how much Sabrina wants to, she won't be the woman who badmouths her ex in front of her kid. And she's like, hey, he didn't want you to get sick from Scarlett, okay? And Piper is happy about this because she's collecting attendance points for some kind of raffle. They get home, they're gonna do homework / make dinner. And while she's waiting for Piper to finish her homework, she's texting her brother Luke to see if he can bring Piper to the pet store tomorrow. You might remember this because we literally just went over it. But yeah, the aunt and uncle are gonna bring Piper to the pet store. Thankful my brother and sister-in-law are not only self-employed so they can be flexible, but also that they live closer than my parents and are willing to watch Piper. I serve up dinner, call my daughter down to eat, and find myself wondering what Coach Rhea and Tegan ended up doing after practice. An image of her toned physique comes to mind. I wonder how many hours she spends in the gym to have a body like that. We're thinking some real interesting things here, huh? Let's think about this later. Okay. Chapter 2. Rhea is telling Tegan that she cannot have a leopard frog as a pet. Please leave it in the garden. She thinks about how kids are weird because her kid named the frog after an English soccer player who she wanted to marry when she was really little and had a bunch of posters. But now Tegan wants to marry some kid in her class. But this girl has nothing on me because again, I used to write Inuyasha fanfics in notebooks at like 12. And I was also getting yelled at on YouTube by grown adults who were angry because I was on like a Rock Lee fan video from Naruto and my autistic 12-year-old ass genuinely asked, hey, why do you guys like him so much? And they literally tried to flay me alive. Get on my level, okay? This isn't that weird. Naming a frog isn't weird. Like any English person would, Rhea decides that stealing from indigenous lands is fine. And they're going to keep the frog and make a nice enclosure for it. Also, my ancestry is like more than 50% British, so I can say it, okay? Rhea internally complains about her daughter not eating enough vegetables, which seems to be a heavy theme for both parents for some reason. I need to know if any of you guys were like me when I was growing up because I loved vegetables and they were like safe and comfort foods, but there's a lot of foods that a lot of autistic kids are obsessed with, such as like mac and cheese or whatever and like pasta, that I think is literally disgusting. Like my ARFID hates it. While Rhea is making mac and cheese from scratch, she thinks to herself that she feels bad that she was so harsh on Piper's mom. And then Tegan Tegan horfs down dinner so she can feed the frog named Cain before it gets dark. And Rhea thinks that bloody frog is going to be the death of me. And then we get a whole bunch of stuff about her nighttime routine, which literally no one asked for. And before bed, she's thinking that Piper's mom is really pretty, but she thinks that she's probably straight and that hitting on a parent at your kid's soccer team is probably not a good idea. We now skip to 5:30 a.m. where Tegan barrels in just talking about Cain the frog, and Rhea relents and lets her go outside to check on Cain, which they left outside in Tupperware with holes poked in it. Jail. He better be an invasive species is what I have to say. Tegan comes back and looks very happy because he looks very happy, and he ate all the earthworms she got for him. And then Tegan pours a ton of maple syrup on her cereal. Oh, to be young and alive. Tegan is now trying to hurry along with everything because she only cares about the frog now. And she has to say some very heartfelt goodbyes to him. Tegan asks on the way to school if Piper can come visit Cain and meet him. This makes Rhea think about the really racy dream she had about Sabrina. And Rhea hasn't been dating in multiple years because after like 3 years she tried to date again after her wife had passed away. In my opinion, is that long enough? I don't know, I guess it depends. But she tried to date, but it didn't work out because she's a widow and no one wanted to deal with that apparently. And Rhea is also a nice mom and checks on Cain during her lunch break. That's nice of her. It's now after school and Tegan is very excited to go get his tank. And she told her class, and her teacher was like, if you write a paper on all the things he needs and proper care for them, then you can have extra credit. And they're going to a pet store, and guess who else is here? Piper, because duh. But Rhea is ready to give Piper's dad a piece of her mind, but she finds out that it's the uncle, and they introduce themselves to one another. Mom, Piper is looking for a pet too. It's her birthday soon and her mom said she can get an animal. Piper grins up at me. Uncle Luke and Aunt Tasha are helping me choose because mom had to work late. Why does my heart drop when I hear this? I don't really understand why people are always so interested in these characters that they've just met. I don't get it. And I'm tired of it also. Give me enemies to lovers or childhood friends to lovers, just like something that takes a while to build up that has some actual substance would be great. Tegan tells them about Cain. The uncle loves this idea because he thinks that Sabrina hates gross pets. Listen here, all pets are gross, lady. Have you ever had to deal with a marathon diarrhea situation? Because I swear I have to deal with it every other month with Ginger and Sesame. So dogs are gross too. Also, if you get like a big dog, they might slobber all over you. Gross. Rhea says we met Sabrina yesterday and that I was kind of a bitch to her, which her daughter is like, that's a swear word, tee. Luke says that he's going to have a word with Elliot about the whole situation when he sees him next time. But I'm not trying to judge you, but when are you gonna see your sister's ex? Rhea thinks that the ex-husband seems like a sore spot.
Yeah, no shit, honey!
They're done in the pet store and they want to get Piper a treat, so they invite Rhea and Tegan to go to the coffee shop. And Rhea wants to really encourage this friendship because Tegan has a hard time making friends, and Tegan and Piper attend different schools. So Rhea and Tegan drop the stuff off at the car, and the aunt and uncle duo are going to order for them and meet them there. And when they get in the coffee shop, Sabrina is here. Hi Rhea, good to see you again. The sound of my name coming from her lips makes my heart flip, and I realize I'm in big trouble.
But imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired we are of it.
I truly want to die. Instead of as a plague, it's a curse. It is a pox on all our houses. Okay? Chapter 3. We're back with Sabrina. She's worried about making a bad impression on Rhea still. Tegan asks if she can have Piper come over to see Cain tonight. Rhea says, hey, not today. We gotta set up his tank first. Or you could just put him back in his environment. You know, nature's enclosure. So I looked them up, by the way, and I saw tons of these growing up, like a ton. So, and they're also indigenous to North America, and I think parts of South America. So they are not an invasive species. Okay. It's those damn Brits again. Paul Revere should have warned people so loud we could still hear him in 2026. But also, if you want to make it up to me, Britain, offer me citizenship for free, please. Thank you. Not only am I insanely British, but I also know an insane amount about the royal families because that was one of my obsessions in middle school. Y'all will love me. I know it, okay? Sabrina's trying not to shudder because she had to dissect one of those frogs in high school. I got out of it for good because I couldn't handle it. Also, one girl at my school fainted. She was a valedictorian, by the way. So I just had to do it virtually on the computer. And I had to write way more stuff than the other people, so I did way better on the assignment because I actually had to learn the shit. So they're setting up a friend date for tomorrow, which will be Saturday. Piper wants to bring brownies, but Tegan isn't allowed to have that much sugar. So Sabrina says, I can just make healthy ones. And she feels weird that she really wants to prove herself to Rhea. I feel a little weird about it too, honey. They exchange numbers so they can send addresses, and Rhea lives in the fancy part of the city. I also don't remember if this goes anywhere, but like, how is she getting by on a teacher's salary in a rich part of the city? Beats me. Sabrina is comparing herself to Rhea, and she's just worried about the whole thing. And after they're done with their drinks, they confirm they're going to see each other around 1 p.m. the next day. And after she leaves, Rhea and Tegan leave. Natasha says she seems nice, and Luke starts encouraging his sister Sabrina to start making friends, perhaps with this woman, because she's always cooped up in the office, and you never actually let us babysit. We also learn that Elliot pays child support, but it's not enough, so she mostly works extra just to support them. We learn that she was pregnant with Piper like right before 18, and she had Piper when she was 18, so she didn't get to make like college friends. A lot of them don't still talk to you after either, by the way. And she remembers that like everyone told her 18 was way too young to marry. Yeah, I think we need to like up the age limit. That's my opinion. However, when we're in a country where you can die for your country, but you can't buy alcohol for some reason, I think that you should be allowed to get married, but I also think maybe we should raise the age for everything, you know? But we learn that Elliot was a cheating cheater who lies. Sabrina is worried that Rhea will think that she's pathetic because Rhea is ripped and lets her daughter have cool pets, and she lives in the rich part of town. They comfort her and are like, hey, don't be too hard on yourself. We learn that she's a great baker because they're blowing smoke up her ass. She refuses to use box mix. And she's caring way too much about what Rhea thinks about her. Just so you know, we get all the internal monologue because it's first person POV. And Luke doesn't know why she cares about her opinion. But she's going off to the store so she can get ingredients for sugar-free brownies. Which sounds like blasphemy to me, by the way. But I'm somebody who wants to throw out half the brownies because I never ordered a stupid brownie crust, so what do I know? Sabrina starts spiraling in her own head about why she cares so much what Rhea thinks. Honey, I'm gonna need you to get out of the closet because there's only room for high school me in there, okay? Gonna need to leave. She's going to make sugar-free avocado brownies straight to jail. But this is inspiring her to eat healthier. After homework, Piper decides to research leopard frogs. Okie dokie. Sabrina is cooking from scratch for dinner, but she loves baking. Yay. We then skip to the next day. She says, you'd never know there's no sugar in these brownies. As someone who is mostly moved to sugar-free and low-sugar options, you can absolutely tell. Stop lying right now. She's trying to pick out what to wear, and she keeps reminding herself that this isn't a date. It's not, but here you are. And then they go to Rhea's, and Sabrina wonders if Tegan's dad is rich. Ma'am, that was a lesbian. Still is. What the heck? But the kids are super excited to see her in a way that only 10-year-olds can be. And then Rhea appears in the doorway. She's wearing casual clothes, but she looks effortless. And we can see her toned biceps and the mandala tattoos on them, on her arms. Is that cultural appropriation? You bet your ass it is, because I looked it up. So guess who's right? Again, makes sense that this British lady is stealing things from India and Nepal. What am I talking about? They've never done that before. Also, disclaimer, I am abundantly aware that the US has done this, but we learned from the best, okay? We get to blame the originals, which is basically just Spain, France, and mostly the UK, to be honest. Chapter 4, we're back with Rhea. Tegan and Piper are running around, seeing Tegan's room. When Sabrina smiles back, her blue-gray eyes taking in my appearance, I feel a fluttering of nerves, or is it excitement in my stomach? When will insta-love truly be dead? When, I ask. Sabrina compliments the home, and Rhea says, thanks, my older brother is an interior designer. And she thinks to herself, like, I couldn't have left the house the way Beth had decorated it. Future butch wife, I want the opposite, okay? I want you to erect shrines. I want you to have woman repellent spray. I want to actively haunt the narrative if I'm dead. If you're not digging me out of my grave to hold me, I don't want it. They talk about how great it is to have brothers, and as an official brother haver, I have to disagree with this hogwash. What are you talking about? Sabrina tells her that the brownies are healthy. Hooray. Heard that one of you guys really like when I say hooray. So try not to get a complex about it. Trying to embrace it. The hooray. But don't worry guys, Sabrina's eyes sparkle. It's just the light reflecting in them, my guy. But there is still some time before lunch and the girls are busy, so they're going to have coffee and a brownie to test them. And apparently this is a stevia household. But the brownie is delicious and it has hazelnut flavor. I hate hazelnuts. It's the like, I'm happy if you love it, but it tastes so disgusting to me, and it's the only nut I find tastes disgusting, and I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway, Rhea is complimenting her baking, and it's making Sabrina blush. Rhea says, yeah, my wife passed away, and being a single parent is hard, because Sabrina had been talking about how she had to give up on her dream of being a baker because of the whole pregnancy and then divorce. And Sabrina says, I'm sorry for your loss, and Rhea says, I miss her every day. But thankfully, to break the awkward silence, the kids just run into the room, and Piper wants a frog as her birthday pet. Sabrina says, let me talk to Rhea and see what they need, and then we can all talk about it later. And now the kids want a brownie, and they're complaining / talking about the adults' hypocrisy because they had one before lunch. Sabrina says, I bet they'll taste even better after lunch, and I'm the baker of the brownies, so I get the final say. So they're all going to wait, and they're gonna go up and see Kane some more. This poor kidnapped frog, be strong, okay? I'm coming, wait for me. Rhea and Sabrina then resume their complaining about being single parents, and Sabrina doesn't really know what she ever saw in Elliot. She tells a story about having to give up college, but she thought that it would work out when Elliot proposed to her, and she thought she could just go to community college once Piper was ready for daycare. But it was obviously a doomed mistake, a canon life event, I fear. But he started cheating on her as soon as Piper was around 1.5 years. Rhea calls him a bastard. Fair. Sabrina says, it's better that I found out early on. Wish I had. Again, let me be bitter at least once a video. Something about Sabrina's honesty makes Rhea want to be honest, and she confesses that she had a really hard time getting out of bed and doing anything when Beth died, and her parents sent her to a mental health facility, and that's where she got into exercising. They say that they're sorry that those things happened to each of them, and Rhea hates thinking about this, but she's thinking about how Tegan could have lost both her parents, and she says as much, and Sabrina compliments her some more and is just gassing her up. And so Rhea does the good old Uno reverse and starts complimenting her back. Rhea's worried she is reading way too much into Sabrina blushing. And you're not, because this is the Hotel Insta-Love. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. And Rhea's making baked salmon, and she bought some salads. I was about to ask where the sides were. More vegetables. More vegetables. Sabrina wants to help, so Rhea tells her to grab the iced tea from the fridge, and Sabrina also helps bring some of the food out. But their arms brush and warmth floods her. Wow, arms. And look, arms can be sexy. But we haven't really earned any of this. Like when you watch the 2005 Pride and Prejudice and Mr. Darcy helps her into the carriage and then does the hand flex that everybody loves. There had been a lot of buildup, and so I liked that, okay? More build-up. Rhea puts some distance between them and she calls the girls for lunch. And then the book resumes telling us and not really showing us. Yay. But Rhea thinks that she might have a crush on Sabrina. And she's worried that it wouldn't be great and it might be too soon to start dating again because of how the last relationship after Beth went. And so she hopes she'll get over this crush. Chapter 5, we're back with Sabrina, and she has plans with Piper to have dinner at Sabrina's parents' house, the grandparents. And Piper gets to play in the yard because they live in an apartment and they don't really have much of a yard. Her mom offers her some wine and she's thankfully responsible, being like, I should probably not because I'm going to be driving. Thank you. Thank you. And her mom asks how yesterday went because Luke, the brother / uncle, said that she was going over to some friend of Piper's house, and it makes Sabrina smile. And she's like, it was great. Piper and Tegan are inseparable, and Rhea is really nice, and she's really laid back, and I'm glad I got to have some adult conversations for once. Her mom's like, I'll try not to be offended by that, and I'll just be happy for you instead. I'm like, well, you're her mother, it's not the same. And so Sabrina laughs and is like, I didn't mean it like that. But it's not the same as spending time with a parent who's the same age as you. And her mom was like, yeah, you should mix more with people your own age. It wouldn't hurt you to go on a date either. And we learned that Sabrina hasn't dated all that much since she and Elliot got divorced. This is something I don't believe though, because she's like, it became harder to get a sitter or find guys who are willing to date a single mom. We all know that's not true, and you want to know why? Men are pigs. Because number one, unfortunately, PDFs exist. PDF files exist. So, also men don't usually help with a lot of childcare anyway, so I don't think a lot of them like count that out. You know what I mean? She's like, I don't have time for dating. You know how hard I work. And her mom's like, that man takes advantage of you. Yeah, I mean, most employers do. And she thinks that, I know my mom means well, but she really has no idea how difficult this work is, and also how hard it is to find a job when you only have a high school diploma. I mean, you can work where I work for only that, which is nuts. But she thinks about the baking the brownies, and she's like, is it too late now to like follow my dream? And I'm like, no, because if you had her when you were 18, then you're only 28, so it's not too late. Hot damn. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I can do better. Maybe I should call the community college, see what's going on there. And her mom is very happy about this and says, me and your dad will watch Piper as much as you need us to. She's like, but what's with this sudden change of heart? The last time I suggested you go to college, you said you wanted to wait until Piper was older. And she's like, well, I was talking to Rhea actually, telling me how she struggled, you know, after her wife passed. And she's like, I realized even though like Elliot's not dead, but I've been like putting my life on hold since the divorce. And her mom was like, I like Rhea. I like the sounds of her. I think she's going to be a good influence on you and Piper. And she thinks a lot of stuff to herself because like the concept of going to school, changing careers, doing whatever is terrifying. And she's also wondering like, have I been putting off dating because I'm scared they would hurt me like Elliot did? And she's like, hey, one thing at a time. We just need to deal with one thing at a time. I'm like, I agree. But she decides to text Rhea to tell her that she's gonna go to college. And Rhea texts her back and is like, that's great news. I'm proud of you. I'm like, you guys have met twice. Two times. It makes Sabrina's heart sore. And then Luke and Tasha are there, and she's also going to tell them she's going to college. And they also are like, hey, we can watch Piper whenever you need to. It's all good. Lunch is great. Hooray. And then they go home and she's texting Rhea some more. And she's also like, it looks like I'm going to have to give Piper a frog for her birthday. Great. So we're just going to kidnap more native wildlife, apparently. Get a Pac-Man frog or something. God. And she's like, yeah, that's Tegan's fault, but you know, I'll print some stuff off for you for practice on Thursday about frogs. All frogs are different. Are we gonna just catch another leopard frog? What are we talking about? But she's like, thanks, and also I should thank you for inspiring me to go back to college. And Rhea's like, I can't take credit for that. And the idea of spending more time with Rhea sounds very appealing. And she's like, also, what are you doing this weekend? Like, I could get the ex to watch Piper and we could have dinner together or something. And Rhea doesn't answer out right away. And thankfully, Sabrina is not the most insecure person you've ever met. So she just thinks she's probably busy with Tegan. But then a couple days pass and there's been no answer. She's like worried about it. She's like, did I offend her? What did I do? But she's going to mention it again at the soccer practice. We then jump to the soccer practice on Thursday, and she's been trying to get Rhea's attention, but she's busy with the other parents. And then Piper runs over with the printouts from Rhea about leopard frogs, and she's still trying to like scooch over to Rhea, but Piper's like, I'm starving. And she's like, okay, how does chicken fajitas sound? I guess I'm gonna have to leave and I'll try to text her later. And her daughter wants tortilla chips in the fajita. That could be revolutionary, I can't even lie. And for whatever reason, she's body shaming or judging in her own head her own daughter. It's like, well, she's eating mostly healthy this week. I feel like chips aren't gonna kill her. And I'm like, I hate this like insane fat phobia almost. Like it's ableism and fat phobia overall. But she texts Rhea again and Rhea says, sorry, I've got no sitter. And then Sabrina's like, well, there go my plans for the weekend. And she's like, some other time. But Rhea doesn't answer her. And she just feels like she's ghosting her, you know? And she goes to bed feeling really deflated. And she's starting to doubt herself. And I'm like, this is why you should not hinge your self-worth upon what other people think about you. And she thinks to herself, what do I have to offer? I'm a decent baker, but I haven't got any other skills. And I'm obviously not cool or interesting enough for someone to want to be friends with me. I'm like, I don't think that's fair. But okay, I should just stick to my office job even though I hate it. And she's worried about like failing out of college too. She's like kind of making a self-fulfilling prophecy. And she thinks like, I was content before Rhea came into my life, so I can be content now. But she thinks to herself like, that's a lie. You haven't been truly happy since Elliot left. And I'm like, oh boy. And she finishes the chapter thinking, maybe I'm not 100% happy with my life and I'm not being rejected by colleges, employees, and other moms who probably think they're too cool to be friends with someone like me anyway. I'm like, I feel like we're making a lot of assumptions, but okay. Chapter 6, we're back with Rhea, and she says to her computer screen, I feel like a total bitch. And she's like chatting with her brother on the computer. I thought she was just saying it to her screen. And she also feels bad because she woke him up at like 2 in the morning where he is. I would feel bad too. And her brother's name is Mac. I'm gonna have to write that down too. Jesus. Get the good old chart out. He's a good brother apparently and is ready to help talk her down from whatever. And she's like, why? Because you lied about not being able to find a sitter, or because you're not replying to her messages? And she's already explained it. Apparently she also explained that she's getting feelings for Sabrina, which feels so fast. It's insane. But she felt like being asked to dinner felt way too much like a date. She's like, only it wasn't a date and never will be. The single mom who wants to hang out with another single mom. And she's just like, I feel bad about all of it. Like, I'm just being such a bitch. She's a really nice person, but I don't think I can handle it because I feel like a teenager with a crush. And her brother's like, it's adorable, that's what it is. Has the author ever had a brother? Because this is not how this goes. She's like, how do you know she wouldn't be interested in dating you? And she's like, she was married to a man. And he's like, right, but why do you think she's just only interested in men? Like, did she actually say that? And she's like, well, I told her about Beth and I, and she didn't say anything then. And the brother says something fantastic, thank God, which is, right, because when someone tells you their wife died, is the perfect time to bring up that you're not straight yourself. She was just being sensitive of your feelings. Ask her out. What's the worst that could happen? Well, you've never seen homophobes, apparently. But she imagines Sabrina rejecting her, and she's like, damn, who knew I'd fallen this hard? Like, it's been 2 meetings because you didn't even actually say anything to each other at the Thursday practice. So what are we talking about? She's like, she can say no, or she can say she's straight, or worse, she's into women also but not into me. Like, how will I look her in the eyes again? He's like, okay, so what's better? Lying to her and ignoring her is better? And she's just like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna get over this crush some point. He's like, do you really want to get over her? And she's like, yes, because then I can actually find someone who's into women. And he's like, you know what you gotta do then? Hook up with somebody else. And if you're still thinking about Sabrina after hooking up with somebody else, you'll know it's more than a simple crush. I don't think that's accurate. Rhea is like, Mac, this isn't high school. It's like, do you have a better idea? I don't think so. He's like, I'm gonna go back to bed. And she's like, that's your only advice is risk rejection or sleep with someone else. Fat lot of good you are. He's like, it is 2 a.m. He's like, you want better advice? Call when I'm not asleep. She's like, thank you. I love you. Tell your wife, Kate, that I love her too. He's like, okay, we'll talk soon. And she closes her video call in the laptop and leans back in the couch, drinking some beer. She just thinks that she's screwed because of this crush thing. So she pulls out her phone and is gonna text Dana, her former friends with benefits. Dana from the L Word, is that you? But this is also her wingman now. Wingwoman, whatever. She's like, do you want to go to Electric 6 tomorrow? And she's like, why are you gonna hook up with me? And she's like, yep, the trusty old vibe isn't cutting it these days. Okay, thanks for that. She's like, I hear ya. You wanna meet in the city around 8? We can get dinner? She's like, sure. And they're arranging the things. Again, she was a lying liar who lies. So she checks in with Tegan's grandparents from her dead wife Bethany's side of the family, and to see if they're happy to take her, which they are usually. She did errands and then dropped Tegan off with the grandparents. Had to promise Kane is going to be alright for 24 hours. I hope he breaks out and makes it to Freedom Man. She picked some sexy outfit. If you think a blazer over it is sexy, go off, I guess. So like, even if I don't meet anybody tonight, at least I can have fun with Dana. That's a win-win. But as she's using an Uber, she's imagining what it would have been like to go with dinner with Sabrina instead. She thinks this line of thinking is going to get you nowhere. Well, yeah, she's straight, allegedly. But she meets up in a restaurant with Dana. I'm going to skip the things we already know about pretty much. They're catching up, right? She also thinks to herself one of the reasons she can't work out with Dana is because Dana is much more into like polyamory / also hoeing it up, which is like fine. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just trying to describe it. Rhea is into monogamy. So, samesies. But Dana is asked about how work is too, and she's like, one of our bakers left. And she's like, I've been trying to find a decent replacement, so bookings are down right now. Like, who wants to go to a cool meal when there's no dessert? Rhea's a really nice person. It's like, hey, would you be willing to take someone who's in college and train them like on the job? And she's like, why do you want to change careers? And then she's like, no, Sabrina. She explains Sabrina and explains how good her big stuff is, and I know she'd be great. She's great person, nicest person you'll ever meet. She's a great mom. Dana's like, I thought you were gonna hook up tonight. Like, what gives with this woman? Sounds like you're into her. And Rhea's like, oh, is it that obvious? She's great, but straight, you know? And Dana's like, so tonight you're hooking up with a rando to get it out of your system. And she's like, yeah, is that stupid? And Dana's like, you are asking the wrong person. But if you like her enough to try and get her job, and you're telling me how wonderful she is, isn't it worth taking your shot before you write her off? She's like, I don't know, Dana. She hasn't given me any indication she's interested. And her daughter's really good friends with my daughter. I don't want anything to like ruin that. And she's like, I can see why that's your problem, but like if you still want me to, like, I'd take a look at her resume and invite her for an interview. She's like, thanks, I appreciate it. I just want to get over the crush so we can be friends because I want her to be happy and have a job she loves. And she's like, I hope you find happiness. You're a good person, blah, blah, blah. They're done at dinner. They walk over to Electric Six, which is a club. They're getting more drinks at the bar. Some nurse named Renee comes up to talk to Rhea. She's like, I love your accent. She's like, thanks, I'm from London, but I moved here during college and that's where I met my wife. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, like I thought you were single. Like, and she's like, I am, sorry I wasn't clear. Beth passed away 8 years ago, which is quite a long time. And Renee is like, I'm sorry for your loss, that must have been really hard. And she's like, it was, I miss her every day, but I didn't come here to talk about that. Like, I want to know more about you. Tell me about yourself. And Renee is blushing all over the place. She works at the hospital. And partway through the conversation, she reveals that she has a 10-year-old daughter, Tegan, and she's like waiting for something she brings up to be a deal breaker. But Renee doesn't care. She's like, of course it's not a deal breaker. And she's just like, I want kids. I just haven't met the right person, you know? And Dana's hitting on some woman named Kelly. And before leaving, Dana whispers, call me in the morning to let me know how you did. And Renee's like, you want to come back to my place? So she's gonna say yes, but then she pictures Sabrina. She's like, Renee's lovely and we have a good connection, but I just don't feel that spark. And she's like, maybe some other time Tegan's grandparents need me to pick her up, you know, or whatever. And I should get some sleep because it's gonna be early. And Renee's like, okay, do you want to like exchange phone numbers then? They do that. Feels really guilty because she's letting her believe that she will call. And she's like, but she's gonna get the message when I don't call. This is very avoidant behavior. And so she texts Sabrina and she's like, hey, I ran into an old friend and told her about the college thing and she wants you to give her a resume so you can like interview. And Sabrina texts back and is like, thank you, that means a lot. I thought that I had done something to upset you. And obviously Rhea feels guilty. She's like, no, sorry, I've just been busy with work and stuff. We should make time to hang out soon. And Sabrina's like, yeah, I'd like that. And when she texts that back, she says, I realize how deeply I've fallen. What? Okay. And she's like, okay, well, Mac's advice to meet someone else isn't working. You tried once, but okay. She's like, what if I just follow the other suggestion? I'm like, is that smart, homie? Chapter 7, back with Sabrina. She was tempted to ignore the message, but she's really curious and she rereads it like a billion times. And she's like, she was so frosty to me on Thursday. I thought she was just like actually ghosting me. But I'm really touched that she thought about me enough to like suggest me to a friend for a job, you know? Like maybe I was being dumb and paranoid thinking she was ignoring me. And, you know, she gets that text that we already talked about, like, been busy with work and stuff. We know it's a lie. And she's like, of course she's busy. She's a single mom too. I don't know why I was getting so worked up. I'm like, no, you were right the first time, girl. And she has a grin as she's snuggling back in the covers. And she's like, I was such an idiot to think she was ghosting me. No. But reality starts to sink in and she's suddenly wide awake because a restaurant wants to interview her to be their baker. And she hasn't even called for the college yet because she was feeling really down on Friday, so she didn't call. And she texts Rhea back and she's like, are you sure me interviewing at a restaurant is a good idea? Like, I haven't spoken to the college yet and I have no experience. She's like, yeah, but you're a great baker with a passion and that counts for something. What do you lose by trying? She's like repeating what they said to her about trying to get with Sabrina. She's like, well, that's easy for her to say. She has a job as a gym teacher that she loves and she coaches her daughter's soccer team. She's like, what more could Rhea want? You, apparently. And before she tries to like talk herself out of it, Rhea texts like, you can do it. Like, those brownies were amazing and you've always wanted to be a baker. Don't give up before you've even tried. My heart flips over at her words. No one has ever believed in me like this. I mean, get wrecked your brother and your parents because they were being very supportive, but okay. And also, your heart flips over? Like, does it do it all the way around or just like part way? Is it like a upside down situation? Sabrina says, okay, but only because you're supporting me. And Rhea says, I'll always support you. Like, why don't we get together this week and I can look over your resume and we can talk about interviewing tips. She's like, I would love that. And they're gonna do it Monday after school and they can play video games at my apartment because I don't really have a yard. And then they say bye and they sign it with kisses. But Sabrina's having a hard time sleeping because she's thinking about Rhea. And she thinks about like how she cooked the salmon, and she thinks about other things she can cook that are savory, I guess. And they're gonna go to the grocery store, but Piper is not happy because she's a 10-year-old and she's being dragged to the grocery store on Sunday morning. And she doesn't get to watch the Sunday morning cartoons, rude. But she's very excited because she tells Piper that it's for Rhea and Tegan. Ugh. And so she's very excited now, alright? She's like, you should ask for Grandma's lemonade recipe. It was really good. And she's like, okay, and what should I bake for dessert? And she wants a fruit crumble, but she has an even better idea. It's gonna be like a sweet focaccia, I guess, with like creme fraiche, which is like a kind of cheese. I don't know if I'd be into that. Is that creme fraiche? I don't know. My French is rusty, alright. And she's cooking in the kitchen, and then Piper comes and is like, I'm kind of bored, and can I stay and help you instead? And she's like, yeah, of course. And she's like happy because Piper hasn't shown any interest in this. And she's like, come over and wash your hands, and then I'll show you how to make focaccia. I'm like, okay, well, what is this for? Because if this is for Monday, that'll probably not work out super well either, because again, a lot of focaccias take a long time. She's feeling much more herself, and then work on Monday drags along, and as the day goes on, her boss is kind of just like, her boss's mood is deteriorating. And she's like, is there anything else you need me to do? Like, only I have dinner this evening, and he's like, a date? And she's like, no, just one of the moms from Piper's soccer team. And she's like, should I pretend Rhea and I are dating? I'm like, no. And she's like, that will send the message I'm not interested in him. No. One time I got followed all the way home by a guy because I made the mistake of saying, I'm a lesbian, please leave me alone. And he followed me all the way back to my dorm. It was quite terrifying, honestly. And I also learned he was recently out of prison, so that did not give me many hopes, alright? Like, the thought of me actually dating Rhea causes a weird little fluttering in my stomach. What the heck? Well, I can't deny she's attractive, but ... I shake the thought out of my head. And then she thinks about how she's just way more appealing than spending an hour with any of the guys she has dated in the past few years. And I'm like, honey, you're a wee lesbian, or at bare minimum bisexual, you know? Be so for real. And he lets her leave, and she gets home, and Piper's doing her homework, and she's hoping that the resume stuff will go well, because her boss sucks. And then there's, you know, a beep, and Piper's like, I'll get it. And then Rhea and Tegan are here, and they're gonna play Minecraft. That leaves Sabrina and Rhea alone, and she's like, Rhea, do you want me to get you anything? She's like, I have lemonade, or tea, or coffee. She's like, what kind of tea is it? And she's like, I got some British thing from the store. Cause like, you're British. And she's like, you'd have to go to all that trouble. I'm like, it's just British tea, calm down. She's like, something smells delicious. And she's like, yeah, it's the focaccia, but whatever. And they're gonna make 2 cups of tea for each of them. Hurrah. Huzzah. New word unlocked, hurrah. A combination of huzzah and hooray. She breaks out some stevia for Rhea, who's anti-sugar for whatever reason. She's like, maybe we should put some milk in it. And she's like, I only have skim, is that okay? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And they're not sweetening it, which is, ugh. Rhea doesn't like any sugar in it, which is gross. Unsweetened tea is nasty. I can't remember their names right now, Jesus. Sabrina is like, I like it with like a half a teaspoon of stevia. I'm like, that's like nothing. What are you all on about? She's like, just add the milk last because I want it to brew first. Just seeing all the proper ways to have British tea, okay. And then we get this. Isn't this so funny? The trick is to make sure the tea is the same shade as the president who will not be named skin. Must be easy to joke about that when you're a feminine, white, British lesbian who has British citizenship. Then you can just leave. Must be so fucking nice, huh? It's like, well, that's one way to remember it, but what did you do in Britain before Lord Cheeto took over? It's really funny when he's ruining all our lives. She's like, remember that cartoon He-Man? That was the original barometer. Fair, I guess. And then it's even better, and she's like, I'll help you make crumpets at some point. Okay, it's gonna be dry. That's what I've learned about British pastries. Dry as the Sahara. She's like, and then Sabrina's like, we should make this a regular thing, like maybe weekends if it's easier, but I would love for all 4 of us to get together. And Rhea doesn't really know what to say, and Sabrina's like, sorry, you've probably got like a billion better things to do than have dinner with me. And Rhea's like, no, like it's not that at all. I love spending time with you. And she's like, you don't have to say that just to be nice. I know I'm probably not as cool and interesting as your other friends. And she's like, Sabrina, you are cool and interesting. And I love spending time with you. And if I ever made you think differently, I'm really sorry. And I feel like Sabrina has a lot of insecurity and mood stuff going on, you know? And then she thinks about telling Mr. Peterson that Rhea and her are dating. And she thinks, I could certainly do worse, ... Get a grip, okay? Chapter 8, Rhea. We're still right after the whole blushing of the last chapter, and Rhea is thinking, don't do anything rash, let's just see how today goes, okay? And Sabrina's like, I made a start on my resume, I'd love to hear what you think. And she's like, yeah, I can look after dinner and let you know if anything seems off, and then we can go over the interview techniques if you want. Like, I'm not an expert, but Beth was a life coach, so I picked up a few things, if you say so. And then Sabrina's like, I hope that you don't mind me asking, but I was wondering, did you and Beth adopt Tegan or something else? I'm like, okay, so you mean IVF, but okay. But apparently, for whatever reason, Rhea doesn't find this a little bit presumptuous, and she says, I don't mind you asking. Beth was Tegan's biological mom, and we planned to have another kid that I would carry, but then Beth passed away. And Sabrina's like, I'm so sorry, and she looks panicked. Rhea gives her a little, like, is a little bit like, I'm so touched that she not only wants to know about my life, but that she's cautious about her feelings when it comes to Beth. And she's like, it's okay, I'm really trying to talk about Beth more so I don't tear up all the time when I say her name, you know? And Sabrina's like, I'm so glad you feel comfortable around me. She's like, thanks, like not everyone is as understanding about my relationship with Beth. My last serious relationship went out the window because she couldn't handle me being a widow. And she's like, well, that sucks, what a bitch. Should check off sexism on my counter too, God. And this makes Rhea laugh. She's like, yeah, but I'm sure you get a fair share of idiots too because you have to tell them about Piper. And Sabrina's like, yeah, like you wouldn't believe. I've had so many guys end things after just one date as soon as I tell them about Piper. And I've just given up trying, and maybe I'll date again when she gets older, I don't know. And Rhea feels her heart sink because she wants to hit that. And she's like, have you tried dating other single parents? She's like, I'm sure people who have kids would be understanding. And Sabrina's like, I guess so, like, but I don't have much time to meet new people because I have to work and I have to look after Piper and, you know. And Rhea thinks, well, that's not completely true because if she wanted to go out with me, we could just get a sitter. And she's like, I'm sure you'd find time for the right person. Like, you found time for me. And Sabrina's eyes widen. She's like, you're different. I'm like, is she though? She's like, and Rhea's like, am I thinking, like, reading way too much into this? Or is this mildly flirty? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell. You're not telling me what anyone's face looks like or what their tone of voice is or any of that. Like, you have no problem telling me every single one of their inane thoughts, but you don't ever tell me what they look like when they're doing things, so we don't understand why the other character is making a judgment that this feels mildly flirty. Like, I don't know because I can't tell. Like, what? The rest of the evening is great, but there's a little tension in the air. Ooh. And Rhea wants to do the washing up of the dishes, but Sabrina says, no, I'm just gonna do it later. And the girls are still playing Minecraft, and Rhea keeps looking at Sabrina, and Sabrina keeps looking at her, and Rhea's wondering, like, did I push too far, I wonder? And she inches closer, and she's like, what do you think? And Sabrina doesn't move away. She also inches closer. They're looking at the screen, and they're talking about the resume, but I don't know if we are. And she's like, these changes are great, thanks. So what am I doing for the interview? Like, if your friend even wants to talk to me. And she's just like, she'd be crazy not to. Why? You literally admitted she has no education in this. What? Like, if you print off your resume, I'll drop it over to her on my lunch break tomorrow and let you know what she says. And she's like, oh, I can't ask you to do that. And she's like, you didn't, I offered. And she's like, besides, I want to stop Dana from blabbing that I have a big crush on you. Big lesbian crush on you. She's like, thank you. I don't know how I'm gonna sneak away from Mr. Peterson anyway because he knows I'm up to something. He's been irritable all day, and he asked if I had a date when I told him I had dinner plans. And suddenly Rhea wants to punch the boss, and I'm kind of okay with it because creepy men are the worst. She's like, I hope you can, like, give your notice soon. And she's like, yeah, his behavior's been really giving me a kick in the butt to move on, you know. She's like, I'm trying to find some culinary classes. They're having another cuppa. Rhea just still has like an insane amount of faith in Sabrina and says as much. And they have another tea. Rhea gives her some advice for college and for trying to get the job. She's stealing glances at Sabrina. You're talking to each other, so I don't see why you have to steal glances at her, because you neurotypicals love staring at people. You love eye contact. I don't get it. And she's also thinking to herself, even if Sabrina isn't romantically interested in me, I still want to be her friend. But I kind of also just want to get my feelings out in the open. I don't think you guys are good enough friends to be doing that. Rhea says that they should celebrate her getting a new job either way, because she's making progress. She's going to go to college, you know. She's like, I would love that. It's been forever since I went out with Piper because I love her, but sometimes adult-only company would be great. But wasn't it hard to get a sitter last time? Like, are your parents back from England? And Rhea feels really guilty about the white lie about, you know, watching her. She's like, yeah, they're back from England, but Beth's parents are always happy to have Tegan. I could ask if they're busy this weekend. And then Tegan and Piper walk into the room and they're done with the Minecraft thing and they're jumping up and down. And Tegan's like, I'm going to Grandma and Grandpa's again this weekend, because of course a 10-year-old can't read the room. Like, it's like, can Piper come? I stayed at their house last weekend so Mom could hang out with her friend Dana, and I had a lot of fun because my grandma's the great. And Sabrina's just staring right at Rhea, and Rhea says, okay, we'll see, okay? Why don't you make sure the living room is tidy and you didn't forget anything before we head home? And Tegan and Piper could kind of feel the tension in the air, and they're like, okay. And they're like, we're going to the living room. She tries to say, hey, like, it's not really as bad as Tegan made it sound. Like, I called them last minute expecting them to be busy, and I'm like, I hate lying more. And I'm like, okay, then just don't. You're like, hey, I want to bang you. And I didn't think that would help our friendship. And Sabrina's just like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. I get it, you're a busy woman all the time. She's like, hanging out with me probably just doesn't compare to the fun things you do with your real friends. And Rhea thinks, my heart breaks as I see tears leak down Sabrina's cheeks and I scramble for something to say without exposing the crappy things I've done, all in the name of working out my feelings for her. Even if Sabrina is interested in women as well as men, now is not the time to bring that up. What's important now is making Sabrina see our friendship is real and she doesn't need to think she's not fun enough to spend time with. I'm like, you really messed this one up. She's like, no, I love spending time with you. I really value our friendship. Like, I'm sorry if I made you feel otherwise, but you did. So you shouldn't say if. You should say if. You need to strike out the if. You need to go, sorry, I have made you feel otherwise. There you go. And Sabrina's like, you don't have to be polite for my sake. Alea always lied to me and said that I was good enough when he was seeing someone behind my back the whole time. Like, I don't need you lying to me too. And I'm like, it has been 8.5 years since Elliot, and you still let him live in your head rent-free like this. And one of the reasons why I hate this is because I'm like, I feel like a lot of times, and I felt this way about my mom dating when my parents got divorced, is a lot of people revert back to acting like the age they were when they last went for a date, and I am scared by that. Okay, I don't know. I'm not going back to being 19. Just so you know. Absolutely no. And she's like, I'm not lying, okay? And Sabrina's like, it's late, you should go home now. Thank you for your help with my resume. I think it's probably best if I withdraw Piper from soccer. And she's like, Sabrina, please don't do that. Like, Tegan adores Piper and it would be cool for them to stop seeing each other. But Sabrina is just ignoring her and is gonna start washing the mugs, I guess, aggressively. On the drive home, Tegan has a lot of questions, including, am I staying with Grandma and Grandpa? Can Piper come? And Rhea says we'll see, even though she knows that, well, she's hoping that things will improve between them by the weekend, but she doesn't know. And Tegan's like, what were you and Piper's mom even talking about? Like, have you fallen out? She's just like, give it a rest, Tegan, okay? Tegan huffs and she's making like an upset expression. She's like, I guess I've screwed up this relationship between Tegan and Piper too. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the worst part about this whole thing, is that you both did this to your kids. Just saying. She's like, maybe I should have just been up front and then she could reject me and then we could hopefully still be friends. But she's worried that her daughter's gonna lose the person she thinks is her best friend, you know? Chapter 9, Sabrina. She's gonna take Piper and she's been trying not to cry again. And she's like, hey mom, if Tegan's grandma and grandpa say yes, can I stay with Tegan for the weekend? And Sabrina feels like her heart wants to break. And she's just like, doesn't Rhea understand that her lies are making this difficult? And hurting two innocent little girls, or does she just not care? And to avoid an argument, she's just like, maybe we'll have to see how the rest of the week goes and if we have other plans. And she rereads Piper her favorite fairy tale and says, good night, I love you, blah blah blah. And then she gets back in the kitchen and it still smells like Rhea's perfume, and the scent stabs at my heart. I didn't know that scents could now be a physical object that can pierce things. She now just thinks like she lied to me. It always feels like the scene I'm always putting in these videos from Crimson Peak. It's like, you lied to me, you poisoned me, you told me you loved me. And she's like, I know I wasn't in a relationship like I was with Elliot. She's like, but honesty is important to me, and Rhea betrayed that, and why? You don't know her well enough for her to know that honesty is one of your core values, because again, you've hung out a grand total of 3 times now. 3, because we can't count the little texting with her about the job. So, and she just kind of starts blaming herself and says that she's like a pathetic loser, and like no wonder she had to lie to me to avoid spending time with me. I'm like, I think that you have some serious control issues actually. And she's like, if I suck at relationships and I couldn't even make my marriage work, what hope do I have making friends? She's like, no, I was right before, I don't need anyone else but Piper. I just think it's very sad. Okay, and she's cleaning the kitchen. She's gonna go over her resume again. And she's gonna give the note to the friend Dana that she's printed out her resume. She's gonna go to community college because she doesn't want Mr. Peterson to keep leering at her. And she doesn't want to because she's like, I don't want to go and see how much more interesting and perfect Dana is compared to me. But at the same time, like, I don't want to be creeped on by my boss anymore. And then we get to hear more about how she's trying to pick an outfit, but I really don't need that, so like, enough. But the moment she closes her eyes to try and fall asleep, she sees Rhea's smiling face. She's really haunting the narrative. And she tells herself, because she's getting cryy again, like, you're being stupid, you're acting like you've been dumped, and you haven't, you're just friends. We're not even friends, we were just 2 moms whose kids are friends. What does it even matter? She's like, but it does matter. I thought Rhea liked me. I'm like, you won't listen to her when she says she does, even when you guys aren't having a fight. That's one of the things that I don't understand about this book specifically, is that I don't think they would last, because Sabrina is such a deeply insecure person, and I don't remember her actually working on it. So, and she just thinks about how she's not good enough for anyone. Hooray. In the morning, Piper asks again about going over to Rhea's parents, and Sabrina says, we'll see what Rhea says at soccer practice. And Piper's like, yay, I love spending time with Tegan, and I think it's great that you and her mom are friends too. She's like, you know how Tegan's other mom died and dad is with Scarlett? Maybe you and Tegan's mom can be together. Then we could hang out all the time. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match, alright? It's like, Piper, this is not a Disney movie. Sure it is. It's like, we're not gonna live happily ever after. And Piper's like, why not? She's 10. And she's like, how can I explain that we've fallen out? It's not gonna work out. And she's like, I don't think we can have this conversation before school. So just like, make sure your bag's packed, okay? And Piper packs her bag, and she's hoping she'll be celebrating her new job soon. So work is just like dragging on for her, and her boss says, I'm going out somewhere for lunch. Do you want to join me? And she's like, hey, no, thank you. Like, I actually need to head into town on my break and pick up birthday presents for my brother. And Mr. Peterson is like, what do you say we have lunch? And then we take a little shopping trip. We can, like, you could use a man's opinion for things for men, right? And she's just trying not to groan out loud. She says that, and I agree. And she's like, is he on to the fact that I'm trying to get a new job? Or like, is he really trying to get with me? Like, neither is good. And then he gets interrupted by the phone, and he's like, one moment please. He's like, go take your lunch, Sabrina. This is an important call. We'll do it next time. And she's like, thank you. And she feels like really relieved. And she doesn't eat. She's too nervous. So she just goes over to the restaurant, and it's the lunchtime rush. And she's like, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you guys because I know it's really busy, but I need to talk to Dana Palmer. And the server is like, why? And she's like, I heard she's down a baker and I want to apply for the position. And the server opens the door to the kitchen and yells, Dana, there's someone out here about the baking position. I'm like, they clearly need one. And Dana comes on out, and she's like, you bake? And she's like, yes, but I have a resume. And she's just like, we'll go over the formalities later, come with me. And she takes her into the kitchen and gives her an apron. She's like, Table 2 just started their appetizer. They've ordered chocolate molten cakes for dessert. Get to it. She's flustered, but she's like, what am I gonna do? So she just does it, and she's like, I hope this won't take that long because I gotta get back to my other job. And Mr. Peterson is now calling her an hour later, and she's just like, part of me doesn't even care. Because the first time in years I feel alive in a way I only do when I'm with Piper. Okay. I'm glad you love your daughter, but I do think it's weird because I feel like there's very little in between with parents. They're either crazy awful to their kids and their kids can tell they don't like them, or they're obsessed with their kids and it's weird. I don't know. Dana says, you did great. Have you ever worked in a kitchen before at the end? And she's like, no, but I'm a hard worker and a quick learner and I want to go to culinary school. So this would be great. And I'll wash dishes if I have to, like anything to be working in a restaurant, please. And Dana says, no dishwashing for you. I need a baker and you did great today. And everyone loved their desserts. She's like, how did you find out about this job though? I didn't advertise it. And she's like, I'm friends with Rhea O'Brien. Like she mentioned it. She's like, oh, you're the girl she's all hung up on. She's like, that makes sense. She was raving about your brownies last week. It's like, no wonder you claimed her heart. And I'm like, oh, of course we have to find it out from some separate character. What happened to Passionate Love Confessions? She's like, what now? And Dana just starts laughing and she feels like she's missing out on a joke. And she's like, I take it my dumbass friend has not worked up the courage to ask you on a date yet. She'd better hurry or I might ask you instead. She's like, I'm just kidding, lol. She's like, I hope I didn't scare you because I love for you to come work here. She's like, when do you start? And she's like, how about tomorrow? She's gonna quit. Chapter 10, Sabrina. She has all these papers and she's going back to the office with all these papers she needs to complete and she's excited about a new job. And he obviously is very angry because she was gone for a long time and he's like, where have you been? Like, I make allowances for you because I can't help but take pity on you. He's like, and you take advantage, which I mean, like, maybe, but I don't think overall, obviously. Like, I think that this was for sure. And then she's like, I take advantage. You're always creeping on me like some kind of predator. She's like, what about inviting me to lunch? Did you think I was desperate enough to sleep with you? And he's like, you're full of yourself if you thought that was what I was trying to do. I was trying to help a poor, pathetic single mother who obviously doesn't get out enough. And she's like, you can think what you want, but I'm not pathetic. And my private life has nothing to do with you. She's like, in fact, my business life also has nothing to do with you. I quit. And he's like, Sabrina, please reconsider. Like, I'll give you a pay raise. I'll be more lenient so you can be with your daughter. Like, don't leave me. And she's like, no, I hate this job and I want to be a baker. So bye. She just leaves the office with her stuff and it's too early to get Piper from school, so she calls her parents and then her brother and his wife to tell them the good news. And she's like, I have to work evenings now, which is kind of not great, but my family's offering to help me, so I'll be all right. And now that she has all those things settled, she can't help but think about what Dana was saying about her Rhea being into her. Like, if that's true, why would she lie to me about, like, not getting a sitter? She's like, but Dana doesn't have a reason to lie to me either, so I don't know what's going on. They said what's going on. She's into her. And then she thinks about Piper's comment again. Maybe you and Tegan's mom could get together. And she's like, didn't I think something similar like just a few days ago that I could do a lot worse? And I'm like, girl. It's like, but that was before she lied to me. She's like, also, I'm straight. I've never been interested in women before. My first love was Elliot, and after we divorced, I only dated men. I can appreciate women who look good, but I've never felt the want to date a woman. Would I want to date Rhea? And then her heart flips because there's a lot of flipping. All right, flipping that heart like a pancake. And she's like, she's beautiful, blah, 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 blah. So this reeks to me. I don't know if you guys have seen that video on TikTok of that allegedly bisexual woman saying she can't see herself with a woman, and that it was really gross and weird. And then she was liking all these TERF comments in the comment section. This is why lesbians don't trust you guys. This is why. If you want to know why, look no further. This is why, okay? She's really hung up on the lying, but she also feels flattered that Rhea is romantically into her because Rhea's great, you know? And she also thinks about how the only serious relationship she had was Elliot, and she can't really use that for a basis to rely upon. And she's like, when I was growing up, did I like boys and girls? I don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know, girl? It's like, I can't really remember it clearly anymore. I'm like, well, I guess that's fair, because you're 28, so. But she decides to picture herself with Rhea, and she gets all these butterflies, but then her brain screams out, but she lied. Okay. If lying is a hard no from you, shut up then. Don't date her. I don't care. I'm not invested in this. I'm invested in the frog you kidnapped. Well, I mean, Tegan kidnapped. Rhea let her, but we all know you're probably gonna kidnap one for Piper too. She's going to get Piper from school, and she really wants it to not be any more dramatic today. And Piper's like, hey, you're early, you're never early. She's like, get used to it. I'm gonna be picking you up every day. Haha. She's like, you will? What happened? Like, did you get into cooking school? She's like, I'm working on it, but I'm gonna work at a restaurant. It's like, that's why Rhea and Tegan came over yesterday to help me apply for that. She's like, yay mom, you did great, yay. It's like, you should call Rhea and get them to celebrate with us. And she feels really torn, and she's just like, not today, Piper. Like, I had a really crazy day and I'm tired. I just want to relax at home with takeout for dinner. And Piper's like, pizza? She's like, we can have pizza and dessert. It's like, and then I'm gonna drop you off at soccer tomorrow, but Uncle Luke will have to pick you up and take you home, because I have to work until the restaurant closes, okay? And when I drop you off at practice, I'll talk to Rhea about the 4 of us celebrating, okay? She's like, yay! She's like, I'm so proud of you again. She's like, thanks, I'm doing it all for you. Don't put that kind of pressure on a kid. She's 10. But they get home. It's the same old song and dance in this frickin' book. Homework, dinner. We get it. Thank you. I know how days work. And she really does want to celebrate with Rhea, because she wouldn't have gotten the job without her. And they're watching a movie, but she keeps imagining what dating Rhea would be like. And this time, my stupid brain doesn't remind me she lied. And instead I go back to the fantasy of us going out for dinner and then Rhea driving me home afterwards. I picture her leaning in to kiss me as we sit in her car. Once again, the butterflies take up nest in my stomach. I don't think butterflies make nests, but okay. I imagine Rhea's lips to be so much softer than anyone's I've ever kissed. And even though it's been almost a day since she was here, suddenly I can smell Rhea's perfume in the apartment. The scent is intoxicating and I lose myself in it, and images of her. I can't remember feeling like this about any of the guys I've dated since Elliot. In fact, the last person I felt like this about was Elliot. Then she wonders what Elliot would think if she and Rhea got together. You have not been together for 8.5 years. He is a cheating cheater scumbag. Why do you care? But she's like, I know he'd find a reason to object and turn it into I'm a bad mother. But she's like he has any grounds to say any of that, because he had an affair and then left me and now only bothers with Piper when it's convenient for him. Again, why do you care what he thinks? You're a grown woman. You're almost 30. Stop this. She's like, but I'm more worried about like my family's reaction. Like, they're open-minded, but I don't know. And her brain's like, this is all just hypothetical. You have to talk to her about why she lied and decide if you forgive her first. She just thinks like that's gonna be the real problem. After everything Elliot has put her through, she just doesn't know she can start a relationship. We get it, okay? I promise. Chapter 11. We're back with Rhea. Tegan is also bothering her about when they get to all hang out again. And she wants Sabrina and Rhea to go out somewhere. And meanwhile, she's worrying about Piper being pulled from the soccer team. They're at practice, and Sabrina's like, Rhea, can I talk to you for a minute? And it's formal but polite, and she's like, okay, she's calling me by my first name though, so that might be good. And she's like, yeah, sure. And they walk away a bit to talk, and she tells her about getting the job, and she's obviously like, Sabrina, I knew you could do it. And Sabrina's laughing, and Dana is very impressed with her work, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I'm going to be very busy. And she's like, but this isn't really what I wanted to talk to you about. She's like, thanks for helping me get the job. I couldn't have done this without you. And she's like, you would have gotten a job in the industry eventually. And I'm like, I don't think that's true, but okay. And she's like, hey, like, she mentioned that you're into me. And she's like, I want to kill Dana, but I also feel very relieved. And then the relief is taken over by guilt. She's like, her knowing doesn't mean I wasn't a jerk and doesn't mean I didn't lie to her. And she's like, hey, I'm sorry that I lied. I thought if I kept you at a distance, I'd be able to get over you, and it didn't really work. And Sabrina's like, I haven't truly forgiven you, but I don't want us to ignore each other. It's not fair to the girls, and honestly, I miss you. And of course, our girl is delusional and is like, could this mean there's hope or whatever? I'm like, where, ho? Where? And they're like, okay, we can't really keep talking because the parents and the kids are getting ready for soccer. She's like, do you want to have dinner on Sunday or something? And Rhea's like, yeah, that's fine. It's like, do you want me to see if Tegan's grandparents can take both of them so that, you know, we can just hang out? And Sabrina's like, yeah, I'd love that as long as your parents don't mind, and I don't want to impose on you guys. She's like, hey, don't worry about that. They'll be fine. Like, they won't mind. I'll ask them, okay? And she's like, okay, that sounds good. And she's like, also, if I don't respond straight away, just know that Dana has me really busy, so I don't get to look at my phone all the time. And she's going back to her first day because she just dropped off Piper during her break. And they're gonna talk later. And Rhea feels like soccer practice drags on forever. Of course she does. And Beth's parents are who she's leaving her with, and she's like, they sense something is going on more than friendship between me and Sabrina, and they're supportive of me dating again, and they know how much I loved Beth, but they also know I shouldn't remain alone for the rest of my life, which is nice of them, I guess. I'm so vindictive though, like it would be impossible for me, okay? Again, I would be haunting the narrative. I would be Fruma Sarah from Fiddler on the Roof, and if you know, you know. So she's dropping off the kids at Grandma's, and also Tegan's like, you look so pretty, because she got dressed up. She's like, does that mean I don't look pretty normally? And she's like, no, you always look pretty. And she's like, I want to wear barrettes to school so Mason will notice me. Okay. And she's like, you don't have to wear things to make people notice you, okay? And Tegan's like, yeah, I know, but when you like somebody, it's kind of nice to look good for them, you know? She's like, is Tegan suggesting I love Sabrina? And I'm like, well, these kids want you to get together more than the kids in the Parent Trap did. So she's like, do you love Mason then? And Tegan's like, I don't know. He told me yesterday he thinks American football is better than soccer. I don't think I could love somebody like that. And so Rhea starts like laughing, and then they're gonna get dropped off officially, and everyone looks super pretty. Hooray. I guess they're dropping them off together, and Sabrina kind of looks at her worriedly, and she's like, they know that you're coming and they're happy for us. And Sabrina's like, okay, I was just worried because, you know, the whole dead wife situation. And she's like, they're fine with this, I promise. The grandma is like, I thought they were only staying for a night because they brought a ton of stuff. And they're introducing each other, and they're like, do you want to come in for cookies? But Rhea's like, hey, I made dinner reservations, so we can't. I'm like, okay, have fun, and we'll see you in the morning to come get them, and I'll call you guys if there's a problem. Tegan's great, and Piper is very polite. And they get in the car, and they're driving to the restaurant. Chapter 12. And Rhea's very excited by this. They get to the restaurant, and Rhea like runs around to open the door, which is nice. And they have a reservation, so they're gonna do that. And Sabrina is flattered that she's putting this much effort because the restaurant is like nice. And she's like, even Elliot didn't put this much effort when he was trying to get with me. And I'm like, girl, like most women who are either straight or in this wish fulfillment case where you're not, like the bar for men is in hell because straight women don't have that high of standards. And I can't fathom it. It feels so odd to me. Sabrina sees the menu, sees that it's quite expensive, and she's like, do you want to go Dutch, like pay half and half? And Rhea's like, absolutely not. Like, I said you deserve to celebrate your new job. This is my treat. I'm paying for it. That's hot. That's fine. Sabrina thinks, wow, she's really going all out. She makes me feel like the most important woman in the world. She's like, okay, well, next time can be my treat. And Sabrina is thinking to herself, like, yeah, no matter what, there's going to be a next time because we'll be friends still, even if we're not into each other. And she thinks, like, am I ready for more? You've been honest with me, so I'm going to be honest with you now. I never imagined myself dating a woman, and I can't say where this will go, but for now, I'm enjoying getting to know you as more than a friend. And Rhea's just like, we'll take things at your pace. It's totally fine. And if you're uncomfortable about anything, just tell me, we'll work it out. And if you decide after tonight you just want to be friends, then we will be just friends. But Sabrina says, this feels like more than friendship. This is new to me, but I want to see where it goes. Now they're looking at the menu, and Sabrina's thinking about how she wants to like hold her hand and maybe kiss her cheek, and also thinks about how she doesn't have much experience in the bedroom, and that Elliot was a selfish lover. Well, a lot of men are. So. And she's trying to figure out in her brain, because, you know, these books just keep repeating things instead of like showing us what's going on, that she wants to know if she does want to explore her like desires and wants with Rhea. But she feels like torn between excitement and nervousness about the whole thing. She's also worried about like her stretch marks and her less than perfect figure, yada yada. You have a baby, you pushed a whole ass baby out of that. Who cares? And then she thinks to herself, like, what do women even like in bed? And I know that that ties into her just not knowing what she wants and what she likes, because she really hasn't been with anyone. But like, you're a woman, homie. Like, you should be able to figure it out. And then she literally just says that sounds stupid, like in her head, and she's like, you're a woman, aren't you? I'm like, I thought so. if you're not, that's fine. But like, Rhea sees that she's looking kind of pensive and she's like, are you alright? And she just like gets flustered and then blurts out, I'm not very experienced. And Rhea's like, don't worry, I can be as patient and gentle as you need. It's like, I'm willing to take every aspect of this dating as slow as possible if you want. And Sabrina feels relieved that she's giving her so much power and control. Like, you should just have that anyway, because like, you're not officially together. This is your first date. You can just say, I'm not doing this, and then dip. Like, I don't, whatever. We're gonna share some wine, hooray. And then they're eating some stuff and getting wine or whatever. And Sabrina says, you said that you have family in England. Like, do you have any siblings? And we say, yes, the older brother, Mac. Sabrina's like, Mac and Rhiannon, are your parents huge Fleetwood Mac fans? And I love Fleetwood Mac, but leave us alone. Rhea's like, yep, it's for that. Better than being named after a car, girl. But don't worry, Sabrina's dad is gonna love this. And Rhea's like, well, at least someone will get a kick out of it because my brother and I don't get it. I mean, you didn't even look it up. Okay. And then we get another thing where we don't get to see all of the conversation, so I don't understand why we're falling for each other, you know? But because it's like the conversation drifts from Fleetwood Mac to our worries about when Piper and Tegan go to high school, which isn't going to be for a hot minute, but okay. And we talk about who their 10-year-olds think are cute, and I'm not doing this. No. She's like, does Piper still want a frog for her birthday? And she's going to give Piper a party because her parents are more than happy to pay for it. They take each other's hand at one point, and Sabrina is feeling them butterflies. If you're gonna have butterflies, could it at least be monarchs? Because like, they're going extinct, so put some milkweed in there, you know? And Rhea's like, do you want to come to my place and have a drink? Or do you want to go home? And she wants to spend the night with Rhea, but she has stuff to do for Piper in the morning. So she's like, hey, can you like take me home if that's okay? Like, love to have a dinner with you, but I need to like get to bed early. And then Rhea's complaining about having to hear about the frog, but like, you didn't have to give her the wild animal that you kidnapped, but okay. And Sabrina's like, is this what I have to look forward to? And she's like, yeah, it's gonna be annoying. Like, don't get them a frog then. She's dropping her off. She's like, I would love to give you a kiss goodnight if you're cool with it. And Sabrina says, I would very much like that. Don't worry, it's amazeballs. And Sabrina wishes she had gone home with Rhea and wished that this night would never end. And they pull apart and Sabrina says, wow. And Rhea's like, wow, good or wow, bad. And she was like, wow, amazing, and giggles. And then they kiss again and Sabrina is in heaven. This has to be somebody's wish fulfillment. Chapter 13. Rhea. Rhea's pouring her desire into the kiss goodnight, apparently. She's like, even though I said I'm willing to be patient, it doesn't mean I don't want more. I'm like, okay, so you agreed to something you don't actually want. Got it. A brief taste of Sabrina's lips isn't enough. I'm not sure it ever will be enough. She's completely bewitched me. Okay, Mr. Darcy, calm down. You're never gonna be him. I'm sick of it. Actually, I need another, like, butch femme retelling of Pride and Prejudice. If someone wants to get on that, that would be amazing. But they're like, thanks for a wonderful evening, sweet dreams, see you in the morning. And then Sabrina gets out of the car and, you know, goes to her apartment, and Rhea just waits until the light is on in her apartment before driving off because she wants to make sure she's safe. And Rhea gets home, thinks it's weirdly quiet without Tegan, and Rhea thinks, you know, I really did want to hook up, but honestly I'm glad that she didn't want to tonight because I want everything to be perfect. But the thing in the back of her head is going like, if things get that far, what if she decides she doesn't want to do us, you know? And she thinks, well, honestly, it will break my heart, but I'll keep my promise. We'll remain friends. And she's already thinking about the L word, even though they haven't known each other very long. And she's like, wow, I haven't felt that way about anyone since Beth. And I'm like, yes, because it just has to be so immediate and so perfect. And I'm sick of that in these fucking books. Write something else. She knows she's gonna have a hard time going to sleep, so she tries to busy herself for a little bit, and then she falls asleep and she like sees Beth and she's like, oh my god, I missed you so much. They're kissing in the dream, and this is actually wish fulfillment because she's like, I've missed you too. I've been watching what an excellent job you're doing with Tegan. I'm so proud and I wish I could be there with you. And she's like, wait, why can't you? And she's like, you know why, Rhea, because I'm dead. And she's like, I wish you didn't have to go, Beth. I miss you every day. And Beth's like, dream Beth, okay? And like, I miss you too and I'll never stop loving you, but I need you to know you have my blessing to love again. not I would be Fruma Sarah. Absolutely not. And it's just Dream Beth saying, you like Sabrina, Sabrina's great, like, go for it. I'm like, this is such bullshit. This is such wish fulfillment. It's wild. Then she wakes up and she like genuinely believes that like the spirit of Bethany visited her and blessed her going after this who she thinks is a straight woman. Absolutely bonkers. Anyway, Rhea and Sabrina pull up to the grandparents to get the kids. I really don't get why you wouldn't go in the same car, but okay. And they're like, did you sleep well? Blah, blah, blah. And Rhea's like, hey, before we get the girls, I just wanted to know, like, how comfortable are you being around, you know, them with me, you know, like as a maybe couple or whatever. And Sabrina's like, well, Piper's the one who suggested it in the first place, so I think she would be thrilled. And I think it's too early because it's been one date. Why are you doing this to 10-year-olds? And Rhea's like, I think our kids would have tried to parent trap us anyway. So, and then they say about how each other looks nice or something. Who cares? And they kiss, and Tegan just yells like, "Oh my God, you have to be so gross!" And then they're making gagging sounds, and then they're running away giggling. Rhea is just like, I guess we're gonna have to get used to that. Yeah, I guess so. And Martha is like, do you two have time for coffee before you take the girls, you know? And they're like, yeah, sure, thanks, Martha. And then she meets the Grandpa Joe. Alright. And the shortbread biscuits are really good, apparently, but alright. They're like, did you enjoy your evening? And they're like, yeah, were the kids well behaved? And they're like, oh yeah, they're angels, so much short. More like they were rubbing frog mucus all over your freaking house. They saved in like a jar or something. They're like, this must be weird for you because you're my dead wife's parents. And they're like, nah, like Beth loved Rhea and would want her to be happy. Where is the vengeance? Where is the vengeful ghosts out in here? And then she tells them that she had a dream about Beth giving her her blessing. And the grandparents get really sad looking because that's their dead daughter. The hell? And then Tegan and Piper are like, we're gonna be late, come on, like stop making things awkward. And then they're loading all their stuff back in the car. And they're like, have a good day at work, bye. Little kiss, and then Tegan and Piper are giggling. And as soon as Tegan is in the car with I gave my boy a haircut. Isn't he so handsome? Hi. This is highway robbery. Highway robbery. Tegan asks, so are you and Piper's mom together now? And Rhea's like, yeah, is that a problem? And she's like, no, that means Piper and I get to be sisters, yay! And Rhea bursts out laughing and says, hey, you're getting a little ahead of yourself. And Tegan's like, right, but like clearly doesn't believe that. Mr. Mans, buddy, there's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. Stop attacking me. Chapter 14, we're back with Sabrina. They're having literally the same conversation, her and Piper, that we just saw with Rhea and Tegan, so I'm gonna skip it because I'm dumb. And she drops Piper off at school, gives her a kiss, and Piper's like, Mom, I'm too old for kisses now. I'm like, okay. And it breaks Sabrina's heart a little. Okay. And she's going to work with Dana. It's a lot about how she's baking lots of things, and she's like, I didn't think I'd get to feel this way about anyone, and it's Rhea, and I also like the physical side of things. Okay, if you say so. But Sabrina doesn't just start sleeping with people that she just started dating, so don't worry your pretty little heads about that. Except that we're 50% through the book, so I bet that that's gonna change real fast. And Dana's like, so I guess you and Rhea are like going out now based on your dreamy looking face. She's like, you've just been staring into space and kneading dough for like 10 minutes. And she's like, whoops, and she puts it in the trash because it's over kneaded for what she needed it for or whatever. She's like, sorry, and Dana's like, that's fine, just don't make a habit out of wasting bread, okay? And somebody wants to just like pick up cupcakes or something, I don't know. It's not a bakery though, so. And then Dana's like, is there any chance you can work through your break? She's like, let me just see if I can get someone to pick up Piper from school first. And she's calling all around, and the normal people can't pick her up. So she calls Elliot to be like, can you get Piper? And he's like, no, like I can't get out of work either. And Skylet's having a spa day. So she texts Rhea because she's like, I'm out of options here. And she frames it as like taking advantage of Rhea, which is very interesting. But Rhea's like, yeah, I'll go get her, sure. She's like, if you give me the school name and you just give like permission for me to get her, it shouldn't be an issue. I'm like, usually you have to sign stuff for that, so I bet it would be normally, but this is a book and we can just fake whatever we want. And she's like, I will pick her up as soon as my shift ends. And Rhea's like, yeah, there's no rush, it's fine. And they said as long as she has an ID that matches the name, it's fine. I'm like, I still think that's kind of crazy, but go off. And she gets back to work. We skip forward to her after the job stuff is over. But they made double today, and it's all because of her baking, if you say so. And Dana's like, yeah, if this keeps up, I might have to hire another baker. Crazy town. And she's like, we could think about doing an in-house bakery. And Sabrina's like, oh man, that's a lot to think about. Like, can I just like think about all that? And she's like, yeah, I'm just putting like feelers out to see if there's anyone else who can like assist you, because you might have to ask for help from your family for a bit now. So, and Sabrina feels a little guilty about it, but she's like, okay, sure, yeah. And Dana is thankfully not a dirty capitalist and wants to share some of the profit of the day. And she's like, hey, you already paid me a decent wage. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be arguing with money, but okay. And Dana says, I pay you a decent wage to cook desserts for the lunchtime and dinner time service. Like, what you did today was way above and beyond that, so like, let's split the extra money 50-50. And she tries to be like, that's too much, because she's supposed to be humble or something, but I would respect her more if she was trying to get the bag. But Dana insists it's gonna go in her bank account ASAP. Okay. And then she's leaving work. She gets to Rhea's. She's like, how is Piper? Tegan and Piper are asleep in Tegan's room, and Rhea thinks she's just gonna do amazing in an in-house bakery. Okie dokie. She's like, I just hope my family won't mind having to take care of her more than they already do, so I can put in some extra hours until we get a second baker. And Rhea's like, you can always just send her with me. And she's like, I can't ask you to do that. And she's like, you're not asking, I'm offering. So just think about it. The girls love each other. It's great. And I live a lot closer than your parents or your brother and his wife. And I'm always available when the school day finishes. So like, Sabrina's like, hey, I just feel like, I know we're just started dating, but isn't this like a couple thing to do? Like, lean on each other for support? Or, sorry, it's Rhea saying that. She's like, if it was the other way around, you'd help me with Tegan. And Sabrina's like, yeah, I would. And Rhea's like, so let me do this for you, Sabrina. Like, okay, I'll talk to the school tomorrow to see like, to have her go to some kind of after school club until you get there. Rhea's like, hey, I set out some like pajamas and fresh towels in the guest room unless you want to like sleep in bed with me or whatever. And Sabrina's like, I'm not sure if I want to do that yet. And then she's like, I'm not ready. She's like, I'd love to spend the night with you. I'm just not ready for more like anything more than hugging and kissing. And Rhea's like, that's more than okay. We'll go at your pace. Don't worry about it. She gets changed and then shows her the bathroom. She just peeks in on her way to make sure that like Tegan and Piper are asleep. And Piper's a weirdo and just has always slept apparently with the blanket over her head. That is, ooh. And Rhea checks in, is like, you okay? And Sabrina's like, never better. They get in the bed, they're cuddling, and Sabrina wishes she was brave enough to do her hair short like Rhea's. They say, thanks for your help, good night, and they fall on asleep. And this book riveting. Also, I don't know what we're talking about with the short hair nonsense, because I thought that Rhea was the blonde one, and on the cover she has very long hair, and the brunette has the short hair, but it's not even that short, it's like longer than mine. But like a bob? Maybe I'm going crazy. Let's look up the word blonde quickly, actually. Yeah, the coach has jaw-length blonde hair, but that's not what the f***ing cover looks like, is it? No. The hell? Chapter 15, we're back with Rhea. We don't get to see any of this, but they apparently fall into an easy routine. They joke about moving in together because they've been spending so much time together. And Rhea feels a little disappointed when she finds out that Dana hired an assistant baker. And Rhea's like, I guess it's good that we're not moving too fast, but I miss cuddling and waking up to each other, blah, blah, blah. We're now at Piper's 11th birthday, finally. And the grandparents of Piper hired a venue, caterer, and entertainment in the form of a kids DJ and character actors who perform as well-known kids characters like Disney princesses and superheroes. She's 11. Some of them might be into that, but I feel like girls are pressured to stop being interested in kid things or nerdy things like the second they're 10. At least when I was growing up. And Sabrina made Piper's cake. Tegan is dressed up like Harley Quinn, and Piper is Wonder Woman, but they're from the DC superhero girl cartoon or whatever. Never heard of that. I gotta be real, I thought that they might just be letting them watch the Harley Quinn show, and that would have been insane. But the cake is a 7-layer rainbow cake that cake that looks amazing. Sabrina's like, it doesn't look like the picture she showed me online though. And she's like, the one in the picture looks terrible compared to yours. I'm like, if you say so. And Sabrina's like, okay, but she doesn't seem like she believes Rhea. And then they're like, okay kids, it's party time. Rhea is very excited because it's the first time she's going to be meeting Sabrina's parents today. It's a very big day. And she's like, also Elliot and his wife Scarlett are going to be there. And Sabrina doesn't know what they're going to do about the ex-husband. And Sabrina warned her, like, I don't think it's going to be positive. And she told Rhea that Elliot would be much happier if Sabrina never got into another relationship and just pined after him the whole time. Too bad, so sad, Elliot. Luke and his wife Natasha are there, and Piper's very excited about it. Rhea introduces herself to the parents, and Sabrina's mom is like, I'm really glad to see that your taste in women is much better than your taste in men. I'm like, oh, yeah. And the dad's like, come on, Pamela, stop. We just want somebody who treats her well. Rhea's like, I try. And they're like, we hear that you help Sabrina with her new job and everything, and that goes a long way in our book. And then they're paying attention to Piper because she's the birthday girl. And Piper introduces Tegan as, this is my sister Tegan, which is crazy. And they're like, hey Piper, you can't go around saying that because people are going to expect like a wedding announcement. Like, stop. And Rhea thinks to herself, like, I kind of like the idea of me and Sabrina getting married. I'm sure you do, but you've been on like one date that we've seen, and the rest has been her being at your place for a while because her job has been too busy and you're taking care of her kid and you just cuddle. So like, I don't think that you should, how do I put this? I hate this saying, but it's that saying that's like, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? I don't believe it that way, but I do think that it's like a car where you should test drive before you commit. Alright, but finally, Piper's dad, Elliot, is here with his new wife, Scarlett, who Rhea thinks is a serious downgrade from Sabrina. But Piper is excited that her dad's here, and he's like to Scarlett, tell Piper happy birthday and I'm gonna get her present. But I guess there had been some special instructions that they could buy Piper some small gifts if they wanted, but they needed to be in a box so she could just open them with her family or something. But Piper and Scarlett chat awkwardly for a few minutes apparently, which is crazy. And Scarlett doesn't really know anything about Piper because she almost never sees her. And Elliot bought her a puppy, and Piper is like, and Sabrina's like, what are you thinking? Like, you didn't okay it with me, and you know we haven't got room like in our apartment for a dog. And Elliot's like, I just want to do something nice for my daughter. And she's like, okay, but like a dog, Elliot, like there's no way she can keep it. And Piper's like, but mom, she's upset about it. And Rhea's like, hey, the dog could always stay at my place. Like, I know it's not the same, but you and Piper are over all the time these days, and it would mean Elliot doesn't have to send it back. And Elliot's narrowing his eyes and he's like, are you two dating? And Sabrina's like, yeah, that's not a problem, is it? And then here we go. For f***'s sake. He says, I will not have some Diesler looking after my daughter's dog. I can't believe you have the nerve to bring her here in front of our child and all these people. And before anyone else can do anything, Luke, the MVP, who wants to get this homophobe out of here, is like rushing him saying, get the hell out of here. Thank you, Luke. But this is a trend in books I've been noticing that I really, really hate, where either a bisexual or someone who thought they were straight but is bisexual has an ex-boyfriend who they're acting like they didn't ever know that this person was bigoted, and then when it suddenly affects them because they're interested in a lesbian, they're all like, I didn't think he'd be like that. No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Also, another book I can think of off the top of my head that did this was Strength Check. I have an insanely long video on that one. Same thing. Same thing. Ridiculous. But Elliot's like, you can't throw me out. I'm her father. And the grandparents are like, yes, we can because we paid for this, not you. So get wrecked. And the grandparents are also like, we don't really care who you are. You can't talk to our daughter and my daughter's girlfriend like that. So get out. And Elliot's just like dragging the puppy, and they're like, no, 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 no. You can leave the dog here. And like, we are going to keep it at our house for Piper because it's unfair of you to take away her gift. And Elliot just hands over the dang leash to the grandpa and is out of here. And Rhea wraps her arms around Sabrina, and Sabrina's just like, I cannot believe him. Except you kind of said that like you had an indication that he was a piece of shit. So like, and Rhea's like, yeah, he's a piece of work, but like, don't let him ruin you and Piper's day because he's gone now. And Sabrina's like, I'll try, but like, all the other parents are probably talking shit See, the thing I don't like in this book and in Strength Check by Catherine McIntyre is the bisexual character never checks in on the lesbian. Never says, oh my god, are you okay? Like, I can't believe that he said a horrible slur to you. What do you need? What can I do? There's never any of that. It's just them being like, wow, he's more bigoted than I initially thought. And now I'm upset. I'm like, okay, but he called someone else that word and you're not even going to check. This is one of the reasons that I just feel like it's been really difficult lately for bisexuals and lesbians to be in community with one another. Bisexuals, all I gotta say is be the change you want to see in the world, okay? Be the change you want to see in the world. Ria's just like, yeah, I doubt they're talking about him. Like, there's so much, like, food, and now there's a cute puppy, and the cake is really good. Also, who cares what anyone says behind your back? So that's, like, actively canceling out what you just said, but okay. She's like, don't let anyone, including Elliot, bring you down. I'm like, I think you should bring her down to earth a little and be like, hey, it's kind of up that you didn't check on me after he called me a slur that is specifically mostly used towards my community. Whatever. But Rhea is now worried that Elliot's comment will make Sabrina question their relationship. Chapter 16, we're back with Sabrina. She's too upset to enjoy the party because Elliot's terrible, and she thinks that Piper doesn't really seem to notice, and she didn't really properly listen to the whole confrontation between me and her dad. She was busy showing off the puppy, and she believed the lie they told her about why her dad had to rush off, because he tries to rush off all the time. And she and her friends are just debating what the puppy should be called. And they're naming her new frog Marcus. I wish they would tell us where they got Marcus, because I fear they kidnapped another wild animal. And they name the puppy Diana after Wonder Woman. Yeah, and here we get this in Sabrina's head. Rhea catches my eyes and smiles, and I return the gesture half-heartedly. I knew Elliot would have a problem with me dating Rhea, but I didn't realize he'd make a scene at his daughter's birthday party. My brain keeps reminding me Elliot is a selfish man, and if it doesn't benefit him, or Scarlet, he doesn't care who he hurts. But my heart can't help but worry that maybe he's right. Piper only just turned 11. Does seeing her mom dating another woman confuse her? And even if it doesn't, it might confuse some of her less open-minded classmates. I'd hate for any of them to tease her because of my choices. I probably should have kept the relationship quiet and only acted as a couple with Rhea when we're alone. This is what I've been talking about a lot, is when you're gay but not queer. She's not in tune with queer culture. She doesn't know anything about being queer. She's just attracted to one woman so far that we know of. And she cares more about being perceived negatively by other parents and children and whatever, when the reality is that we exist and we shouldn't have to hide our existence. You holding her hand or giving her a peck on the cheek or the lips or whatever in front of kids doesn't make you a pervert. It doesn't. And kids should have to be exposed to that and get used to that. I met my first lesbian couple when I was like 11, and I was like amazed and confused. I was only confused because I was gay, and I lived in the middle of goddamn nowhere in New Hampshire. So like I was like, wow, heck yeah. Like she thinks that Rhea deserves better than to be kept a secret, but the other side of her says that her daughter deserves to not be embarrassed on her birthday. But I'm like, who embarrassed your daughter? You or Elliot? Quickly, who did it? Oh wait, it was Elliot. She thinks like, Piper's always been my major priority. I'm like, I understand that, but you finally decided to do something for yourself, which was get this relationship, and now you're going to ruin it over some fucking man who did terrible things to you. Why do you care about his opinion? Finally, the party is winding down, and Piper's dog is going home with Grandma and Grandpa, and Sabrina says, we'll see him tomorrow, okay? It's a girl, I think, actually. No, I don't know. It never really uses pronouns for the puppy, do they? I don't know. I'm not gonna look. I'm too tired. But they're gonna visit her, the dog, tomorrow. And the mom's like, you should join us for lunch too then, and like Rhea and Tegan can come. And Piper's like, hey, my grandparents are having lunch tomorrow, Tegan. You and your mom should come. She's like, you've had one of my grandma's recipes before. You'll love it. And they have a big backyard. And Tegan's like, yay, that's awesome. Children in books always like fry me a little bit because I'm like, I don't know what to do with y'all. And Sabrina keeps wondering if this relationship was a mistake, and I'm like, I just think that you shouldn't have done any of this. I also think you're a coward. I also think you're kind of dumb and you can't like figure out the root causes of some problems, like the fact that Elliot's the one who embarrassed your daughter, not Rhea, and your relationship. So, but Sabrina's hypercritical voice in the back of her head is saying you caused problems too. She thinks that Rhea deserves better because Elliot lost his temper and insulted her. Well, I think you should have checked in with her about the insulting, for sure. but like, you can't control outside people. So it's weird to blame yourself for that, but okay. But she's like, yeah, that'll be great. We'll be there at 12:30, sure. But after the grandparents and dog leave, they're still partying a bit. Everyone's exhausted by the end. And then they're starting to clear up the party things, and Rhea is coming to check on Sabrina, and she asks if she's okay, and she's like, yeah, I'm just tired. And Rhea's like, are you sure? Like, you're allowed to be upset about Elliot, you know? Like, she holds her hand, and Sabrina just, she's going through these insane thought loops, basically. Because she's like, me being with her is only going to cause problems, and maybe Elliot was right when we broke up. I'm selfish. She's like, but I want to be in a relationship with her and be selfish a little longer. I'm like, okay, girl. And Rhea's like, hey, don't let Elliot get to you. You're way better than him, and you deserve to be happy even if he wants to ruin it. And Sabrina is a deeply insecure person, and I feel like it gets worse because she's like, do I even deserve happiness? I'm like, girl, that's insane. And Piper's like, hey, are Rhea and Tegan coming over to my apartment so they can see me open the presents? And she's like, sure. And Luke's like, well, we better give you our present too. And it's very big. And Piper's like, can I open it? And she's like, yeah, sure, go for it. And it's like a repurposed box, obviously. And they gave her an English soccer strip out of the box, complete with matching socks and soccer boots. And the back is printed with the last 2 numbers of her birth year. And there's the name Thompson above it. And her uncle's like, I forgive you for your lack of patriotism. I don't know why you like the British people, but here you go. And I'm like, fair enough. So they go back. She opens all her toys, she gets a bunch of stuff, yada yada. And Tegan has made her a homemade card that says best friends forever, which is cute. And she got more soccer related stuff, which I like personally don't care about, so we're just gonna skip it. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? And then they have Marcus early, and she's wigging out because she's excited to have a frog. Someone save Kane and Marcus immediately. Yeah, it's a leopard frog, and I'm hoping they got it from a breeder this time because, oh my god. And Piper says, welcome to the family, Marcus. This is the best birthday ever. And then Sabrina's like, you know, if this was her best birthday ever, then how could my relationship and then Elliot's crazy outburst actually affect anything? Like, how could, like, it being a problem be possibly true? Chapter 17, Rhea. Rhea is worried after the whole Elliot thing that dinner with Sabrina's parents will be weird, and Rhea just feels like Sabrina is putting up a lot of walls right now, and they're sitting on opposite ends of the couch and she's avoiding her like she's a plague or something. And they're gonna be heading home, and she's gonna give her a goodnight kiss, and Sabrina does give her a little smooch, you know? And she's like, I know she wants me, but something's holding her back. And she's like, damn, Elliot. I'm like, okay. And Rhea thinks, like, I know maybe talking would help because she's really new to this, but it's really late. So I say goodnight, we go home. She doesn't sleep well. Her mind won't settle. And she's worried that Sabrina's ashamed to be around her. And I'm like, see, this is why you should have had that talk about it, Sabrina, you freaking prick. Like, what is this? She's like, she's a lot more concerned about people knowing and being weird than I am. And I'm like, yeah, have you considered that's because you are a lesbian, and no matter what woman you're with, there is no hiding that. You can hide being bisexual all you want. So she's like, I'm gonna talk to Sabrina about it at her parents' house. And then she falls asleep. And then it's early, and Tegan's waking her up, and she's like, did you feed Kane and change his water? And she's like, yeah, he's all set up for the whole day, and I picked out what I want to wear to Piper's grandparents. And she's like, how are you, like, awake? Like, how are you doing this? I need coffee. Like, don't talk to me. And she's like, Mom, I already, like, got a pot of coffee on for you. So Rhea's like, okay, let's now go quick, thank you. And Tegan asks her mom what the D slur means, and she's like, oh, you heard that, huh? It's a not very nice word for women who love other women. She's like, Piper's dad isn't nice, that is he? And she's like, no, he's not. She's like, which is weird now, or like, get it, because he bought Piper a puppy, and that doesn't seem like something someone who isn't very nice would do. And she's like, no, it doesn't seem like that, but you have to understand, people like Piper's dad like to pretend they're the best by making grand gestures where lots of people can see. And he probably thought that everyone would be impressed that he gave her a puppy. And Tegan's like, yeah, but then he said a bad word, and Piper's grandparents threw him out. So now everyone knows he's not a nice person, right? And she's like, hopefully, but some people might agree with him. Some people think 2 women being together is wrong. And Tegan's like, why? You're not hurting anybody or doing anything bad. She's like, yeah, I know, but everyone doesn't think like we do, Tegan. And Tegan's like, well, then they're dummies. And I don't want to be their friend. Good for you, Tegan. And she's like, you gotta get your coffee, Mom. Let's go. And Rhea thinks, I wish it was this easy to get Sabrina to understand. We skip forward. They're now going to the lunch with the grandparents. And Rhea's bringing wine and flowers for the grandparents. And Tegan doesn't want to help, but she's like, the sooner we get to it, the sooner you can go play with that puppy, Tegan. It would have been way funnier, I just realized, if Piper's name was Sarah, because that would be Tegan and Sarah, who a lot of people don't know are sisters and lesbians. I think that would have been funnier, but whatever. And Sabrina's like, what's all this? Like when she gets there and she's like, oh, we got this for your parents. Sabrina's like, thank you, that's so nice. And they compliment how they each look again. And then they're like, the little girls are talking about all the tricks they want to teach Diana. And Rhea kisses her after Sabrina says thanks for coming today. And then they're in and she's like, thank you, Mrs. Thompson, for inviting me and Tegan for lunch. And the grandparents are very pleased that, you know, they brought pretty gifts and it's cute, I guess. I don't know. And then they're gonna day drink. They're gonna open the bottle of wine they brought because of course they are. Then Luke and Tasha are here and Sabrina says to her parents, like, thank you for taking the dog. I do not know what Elliot was thinking. And her dad's like, don't worry about it. Elliot never thinks about anything he does. Like, and they clearly don't like him and never did. So, but the grandma's like, we're not bringing the mood down by talking about that idiot, okay? She's like, did Piper enjoy her birthday? And she's like, yes, she did. She loved it. And they're asking how she's getting along with the frog. She's like, I thought after, you know, a few hours of playing with the dog that she would just get bored of the frog and not want it, but actually she and Tegan really had a great time with that frog. And Rhea's also like, yeah, I would have thought that Tegan would have gotten over the frog too, but nope. And the grandma's like, I don't see what's so appealing about those slimy things. It's actually mucus. Sabrina's like, I think that he's pretty cute now because I used to think that way too, but I actually think he's pretty cute. Or there's a gigantic bug out of my window. I can't even tell what kind of f***ing bug it is, but it's nasty. Why is it so big? Ooh. But she's like, I think he's actually cute now. And I'm like, I think that all frogs are cute and you don't have to touch them. It's actually not great for you to be touching them. So like, a frog is a great pet to just look at. They're fun. Like, lunch is amazing. It literally says that. It says lunch is amazing. And Sabrina's whole family is wonderful. Could we like see anything? You feel the need to have like inane conversations going over things that we've already gone over, but you don't feel like it's necessary to have depicted any of the conversations that show us why they like Rhea and how they're getting along. You just want to skip it. I really don't get the choices here, you know? And the grandma's like, hey Sabrina, like when they're alone, she's like, I wanted to talk to you about what Elliot said yesterday. And Rhea's hearing this because we're in her POV and her heart kind of sinks. She's like, oh God, like her parents don't approve of us being together. Chapter 18, Sabrina. And Sabrina does not want to talk about Elliot, obviously. And she's like, I definitely don't want to hear my parents agreeing with him. She's like, I'm already struggling and if my parents don't approve, that's going to be even worse. And her mom's like, hey, don't look alarmed, okay? She's like, I'm not going to repeat what he said because nasty. She's like, I'm actually wondering if he should be around Piper. Actually, it's like, I know that he's her father biologically speaking, but he's never been a dad to her ever. And reacting like he did to your new relationship was disgusting. And I'm like, Grandma for the win. Thank you, Grandma. She's just like, you don't have a problem with us being together? And the mom's like, no, why would I care? She's like, what gave you that idea? Like, Rhea's great. And like, I think that she makes you very happy. And if I gave you that impression, I'm sorry, but like, I like her. I'm fine with it. And Rhea's like, thanks, Mrs. Thompson. I care about Sabrina a lot and would never do anything to hurt her. People who say that randomly scare me. Like, I understand why the concept is hot, but like, when you say that, I'm like, why were you thinking about that? You know, like my brain's trying to connect things. I'm like, wait a damn minute. And then Rhea says, but what about Piper? Will you still be so supportive when she's teased at school for her mom being a D slur? You're not one though, so don't say that word. Number one, I will reach through my tablet screen and kick your ass. Hello? Some words are for us, and this one is not for you. Enough. And everyone flinches, and then they're like, is that, and Rhea's like, is that the problem? Is that why you've been so distant since the party? And Sabrina's really teary, and is like, I don't know, what if Elliot's right and our relationship hurts Piper? You nasty ass hoe. You do not get to say that word. I'm still angry about it. You don't get to say that word. And then say like, maybe my homophobic ex is right. Are you for real right now? And Tasha, who has been very mild-mannered this whole book, by the way, is like, when has Elliot been right about anything? He had an affair when Piper was barely out of diapers. Yeah, there's no way Piper's 18 months and potty trained. Try again. And she's just like, he has no right to criticize anyone else's relationship. Actually, it says he has no rights to criticize anyone else's relationship. I think it's no right, not no rights. Whatever. That's a nitpick. And the grandma's like, if anyone at school has a problem with it, then they're narrow-minded. Heck yeah. And Rhea's like, thanks for the support, like, Sabrina, your mom's right. And Sabrina knows what they're saying is true, but she can't help feeling that she's wrong and that this whole thing is wrong. And I'm like, okay, so you have some deep-seated compulsory heterosexuality, but like, I don't feel that much empathy because you've just come out, kind of, and you're saying a word that does not belong to you. Get out of here. And she's like, I don't deserve to be happy. She says that out loud, and everyone is staring at her, and it makes her mom start crying. And the mom's like, of course you do. Like, what? Like, I hate that that man made you feel that way. And I said I wouldn't interfere in your life because you're an adult and you can make your own decisions, but you need to go to a therapist. It's like, what Elliot did to you was vile, and I don't know if you've ever gotten over it. Well, no, clearly she has not. And her mom's words are like a stab to her heart. Shot through the heart. And she also internally is blaming herself for Elliot cheating, thinking like, I shouldn't have gotten pregnant so young, and I should have gotten back into shape after having Piper. Like, you pushed a bowling ball through your cooch, so like, I don't. And she's like, I should have like done those things and more to keep him happy, but I didn't because I'm needy and pathetic and no one could ever love me properly. And I'm like, I don't understand why you have this worldview when you've had one serious romantic relationship that started when you were a minor, and you're blaming yourself for all of the reasons it didn't work. It's been like 8.5 years and you're still not over this. That is categorically insane. Okay, but Rhea's like, hey, your mom is right. Like, I meant it when I said I care about you. I want us to have a future together, but we're never going to be able to even take the chance if you keep letting Elliot and what he did to you hold you back. And I'm like, okay, but aren't we also going to talk about the homophobia? Or no? And the mom's like, I couldn't have said it better. It's like, you need to see that him cheating wasn't your fault. You deserve love and happiness. Is everyone just a mind reader now? Okay. And Sabrina says, okay, I will see a therapist, because maybe they're right. And Rhea's like, I'm proud of you. Well, don't get your hopes up yet, honey. She hasn't even picked up the damn phone. She hasn't sent an email, nothing. She's just like, you're doing the right thing. And the mom's like, and we're proud of you too. And they're gonna have ice cream. And she's shuffling closer to Rhea because she's into her, obviously. And she's just like, I know not everything is magically fixed and therapy will take time, but I'm already feeling so much better. And I'm like, that's in her head, but I'm like, okay, it has been probably realistically less than 20 minutes. Shush. They're gonna play some soccer now, the kids and the adults. Hooray. They're all chasing the ball, including the puppy. And then everyone's exhausted and they're like, okay, we're gonna get going then. And they're like, Rhea, it was lovely getting to know you. Blah, blah, blah. You and Tegan are always welcome here. Call me Pamela. Okay. I still think that's such a weird name. One of my aunts has that name. Well, she's not really. She's like my mom's first cousin. I don't know what level of cousin that makes me, but we always just called her my aunt. But like, yeah. The mom's like, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about stuff today. Keep me updated about therapy. And Sabrina's like, okay, thank you, Mom. And she thinks about how her mom supported her through all the like big life mistakes, kind of like the pregnancy and marriage and then divorce and then all of this. And I'm like, well, then I don't understand why you think that you are incapable of being loved. It doesn't make any sense. You have supportive parents. You have a supportive sibling and his spouse. You have Rhea now. Where is the no love that you speak of? Hello? And I'm not saying that like people can't internalize ideas about like one specific type of love. Again, example, the whole romantic love thing is only because she's only been with Elliot for real. But like, hello. But she felt like her life wasn't moving forward until Rhea. Yay. But having Rhea in my life is worth it, even if it's scary. And she wonders how she got so lucky with finding Rhea. She thanks her for today, and Rhea just says, thanks for inviting me. Your family's great. It's great that they accept us dating. And Sabrina is like, how could they not? You're amazing. Okay. And Rhea's also like, hey, therapy really helped me a lot after losing Beth. Like, it'll be good for you. And then Sabrina's like, oh my god, I feel so selfish. I keep forgetting about dead Beth. And she's like, I should think about talking about my feelings to Rhea more often. I'm like, yes, that is a good plan. Sabrina apologizes for not talking about this sooner, but Rhea's like, I understand that it's new and dating a woman isn't something you've done before, but you can tell me what you're thinking and feeling at all times. I'll always be there for you. And Sabrina's like, I'm starting to see how true that is. Well, what if you have like a really weird thought though? Like how weird can we be around her? I just want to know. And they're gonna have an early night because they're gonna be pretty busy for school and all that. And Sabrina says, okay, I will call you on my break at work tomorrow. And Rhea says, I'm looking forward to it. I hope your day goes well. And then they kiss a little. And as she kisses her goodnight, she knows that their relationship is worth fighting for. I'll do whatever it takes to overcome the damage Elliot did and make sure we have a future together. Oh, dear Lord. By the way, I'm cutting out a lot of stuff that's just repetitive just for y'all. But I feel now that we're like getting toward the end of the book, it's important that I tell you that I'm cutting out a lot of content because it's so boring. It's like going to school, then doing homework, then working at the restaurant, then blah, blah, blah. Like, but it's like not like you actually get to see it. It's just them telling me that they did it, and I'm like, well, why don't you tell us like exactly what body wash you use then, and exactly what brand of seasonings her seasonings are, or tell us exactly what math problems Piper has on her homework. Like, I'm sick of this grandpa. Chapter 19, we're with Rhea, and Sabrina's having her first therapy session, and Rhea is dropping her off there, and then she's going to take Tegan and Piper to the park to wait for her, and she tells Sabrina that it'll be fine. They give a little kiss. Also, they brought Diana, the dog, and there's still a million thank yous. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't show your gratitude to your partner. Like, obviously, please and thank you go a long way and they matter, but like, it's a book. Can't I just like have it implied for once? Like, they're like, okay, we'll see you later. And apparently Sabrina told Piper in appropriate terms why she's going, so Piper is supportive. She's 11, so like, obviously, but okay. And Tegan tells her good luck, and then they're going to the park. And they spend the hour at the park. We don't really get to see it. They just tell us that they have a wonderful time and that they play with the puppy and whatever. But like, I don't care about that. Then Sabrina texts them, and they go to get her. And Rhea's like, how was it? And she looks like she's been crying. And she's like, fine, it was fine. And she's like, tense about it. And Rhea's like, hey, do you want to like come back to my place for dinner? Because it looked like, you know, rough. And Sabrina's like, no, I would just like to go home, please. And she's like, okay, do you want me to drop you off at home before or after we drop Diana at your parents? And she's like, would you mind taking me home first, actually? And Rhea also offers to take Piper tonight because Sabrina's clearly having a hard time. And the girls are talking about the sleepover, and Sabrina's like, I don't really want to like palm her off on you, but I could use some time and some space. Like, are you sure it's okay? And she's like, I wouldn't have offered if it wasn't okay. And Piper and Tegan love it. And the girls chime in. They're like, yeah, we love it. And they're like, Mom, just please feed Marcus. And she's like, yes, I won't forget to feed Marcus. And Sabrina's like, I only have a half day tomorrow. Like, I can come around after my shift is done. We can all do something together. And Rhea's like, that would be great. And they give a little kiss. Thank you for being so supportive, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm so lucky to have you, yada, 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 yada. It's just a lot of the same shit. And to me, because it's a book, it just feels like filler. Needless filler that I didn't ask for and no one else did either. And Rhea's like, call me if you need anything, okay? They're like, what can we get for dinner? And the kids are like, ice cream. They're like, nice try. Rhea drops them off at the grandparents and is talking to Sabrina's mom, Pam, and says like, I think it went well, but she didn't really have much to say. She needs some alone time. And the mom's like, understandable, she probably has a lot she needs to process. And she's like, yeah, I'm sure she does, which is why I offered to have Piper for the night. And the grandma also has to gas up the main characters for whatever reason. Is like, you're a good woman, Rhea, and I'm happy that you guys found each other. Yes, okay, thanks. Rhea's mom is texting her when they're back at Rhea's place, wanting to know if like they can catch up. She's like, sure, I'm not busy, let's Skype. And they talk about Rhea's first girlfriend, Samantha. And her mom's like, she's married to a man now. And she's like, Mom, bisexuals exist. She's like, sometimes to people gender doesn't matter, and you just meet someone you have a connection with, like Sabrina did with me. And I'm like, are we gonna seriously pretend that you're the only woman she will ever be attracted to, or what? Like, it gives me the ick. I feel like we've been having a lot of almost like straight women fetish books lately, and I'm not into that. And she's like, yeah, tells her mom that things are getting serious with her. And the mom's like, when can we meet her? And she's like, well, meeting the parents is kind of a big step. You already met Sabrina's parents though, so like, it's kind of hypocritical, isn't it? She's like, also she's dealing with a lot of stuff with her ex right now. I don't want to overload her. And the mom's like, what sort of stuff? Like, she doesn't still love her ex, does she? Because you need to be careful, Rhea, especially since this woman was married to a man before. Like, how do you know she won't change her mind? Which is biphobic, but I hate to say from experience, kind of a good point. So, she's like, no, she doesn't still have feelings for her ex. He's not a nice guy, and their divorce really affected her. And she's getting help for her issues. I'm supporting her. And her mom's like, see, this is what I mean about you having to look after yourself. Like, I know how badly everything affected you with Beth, and I don't want you to go through that heartache again. And she's like, Mom, I appreciate it, but it's different. You have nothing to worry about. Like, I can really see myself having a future with Sabrina. And I'm like, that's the problem, homie. That's what your mom's trying to say. You're putting all your eggs in this one basket. And I know when you're monogamous and you're dating, that's what happens. But, like, you were putting a lot of pressure upon this very new relationship that doesn't have the strongest of foundations to begin with. And so it's just going to tumble into the water like the freaking house in the series of unfortunate events. And I'm thinking of the first movie, the actual movie, not the show. I have seen the show a bunch, but like Meryl Streep and her house falling in the water, you know? And she's like, I just feel like it's something special, Mom. And her mom's like, that's great. Like, I'm happy for you. You deserve love and happiness. I'm like, I get it, okay? Like, ugh. One of the things I hate about these kinds of books is that it just feels like a never-ending circle jerk. It feels like everyone's just going around in a circle, gassing up the main characters to make them feel better about themselves. And the main characters don't actually do all that much work to achieve it. I know that Sabrina's going into therapy, but considering how we have 49 pages left, I don't see how that's going to work. Because, like, therapy takes time. A lot of these things take time and they're a lot of work. So, but she's like, hey, if things are on track with me and Sabrina in a couple of months, I'll ask her if she wants to come with me and Tegan to see you guys for Christmas, okay? With Piper. And the mom is thrilled. And she's like, I know as soon as my call ends that my mom will be planning me and Sabrina's wedding. And I'm like, okay, well, why did you say this then? And we end the chapter with her just thinking it would be amazing to be able to do that. Chapter 20, Sabrina. There's a new second baker, Michelle, at the job, hooray. And they have rented an empty building next door to run the bakery, and Michelle covers the lunch and dinner service, and they're making the bakery all perfect. But she's like, between work, college, and therapy, I haven't had much time to spend with Rhea, but we're stealing moments here and there. And they've moved Diana the dog over to Rhea's house from her parents, which is kind of crazy town, but they've been spending so much time there that that's what they did. And she's like, after that thing with Elliot, I finally realized I need help with my issues. Well, that specific instance was actually an external issue, not caused by you. And then you internalized it for some reason. So, like, you created your own suffering. So somebody has been calling her phone non-stop for a couple minutes. And she's like, people don't do that unless something's up with Piper. So she closes the bakery just really quick and asks what's up, you know, answers the phone. It's like, is this Miss Thompson? And she's like, yeah, it is. Is Piper okay? And the school receptionist is like, yeah, Piper is fine, but we had Child Protective Services here investigating a claim of child abuse. And she's like, what do you mean child abuse? Huh? And they're like, we gave them a report, but they need you to come to the school and be interviewed. I'm like, why can't they just meet her at her house? That's what they normally do. They want to look at your living situation too. So, like, okay. But she says, I will be right there, even though this is not how CPS usually works, but okay. She tells Dana that she has an emergency, and she's like, yeah, we can just close it for the day, take as long as you need, it's all good. Again, we probably needed a second baker in the bakery, and also the person at the restaurant, but what do I know? And she's like, Dana really cares about her employees, yeah. Good for you, I'm glad. And she gets to the school, and she's like, the receptionist is like, I'm sorry we had to call you like this, but we have to take reports of child abuse seriously. Why are they reporting it to the school and not to the police or CPS directly? That makes zero sense. I don't think this person knows how CPS works. And it's very easy to look it up, by the way. Sabrina's like, yeah, of course, I'm happy to answer any questions they have for me. It's like, okay, good, they're waiting in the principal's office for you. And the principal is there to just act as like an unbiased mediator. I'm like, well, I mean, the kid goes to this school and they're all mandated reporters, so don't know how unbiased they can be, but alright. But she gets on in there, and they're like, thanks for coming with such short notice. And I'm like, it wasn't any notice, but okay. And she's like, of course, I want to clear everything up. And they're like, these two are from CPS, they're here to ask you some questions about Piper. And they're like, are you dating anybody? She's like, yes, I am dating Rhea. She teaches gym at Findlay Elementary. and she also does like a sports club for kids nearby, and that's how we met because Piper is in soccer. And they ask how involved she is in Piper's life, and they're like, yeah, they get along great, and she gets along great with Ria's daughter, Tegan. They're like, thanks, we have no further questions. And she's like, what, you're not going to ask me any more questions? Like, what is all of this about? Who accused me of abusing Piper? And CPS, I don't think, is allowed to tell you. Actually, we'll do the smart thing that I was just talking about. We'll look it up. We'll look it up together. Yeah, so this is very easy. There's a lot of different sources that all say they will not tell you. They won't tell you. Like, sometimes it's clear to you that it only could have been like one person because of circumstances or whatever. However, they will not tell you who reported you, but these people do, and they say Piper's father made the report, which is not how that works. And they're like, okay, but we spoke to Piper, her class teacher, the principal, and you, and we think that the concerns are unfounded, and we're satisfied that Piper is perfectly safe and happy. She says, Elliot, of course, because he's bitter and jealous because my parents threw him out of Piper's birthday for saying a homophobic slur at an 11-year-old's birthday. One of the CPS people says, well, taking that into consideration, I think we're going to have to talk to him again, and I suspect you want to talk to a family lawyer for you and your kid. And she's like, yeah, sure, okay. CPS, I don't think cares if they're throwing out homophobic slurs in front of 11-year-olds. I really don't think they care. But go off, I guess. And then the principal, after the CPS people leave, is like, I'm really sorry you had to go through that. I told them you're a wonderful parent and we have no concerns about Piper, but they insisted on speaking to you. And I'm like, right, but like they would probably ambush her at her house like CPS loves to do. So like, okay. And she's like, hey, I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at my ex, okay? I can't believe he reported me for child abuse. You can't believe your slimy, conniving, icky ex reported you for child abuse? I can believe it. Huh? Like, the principal's like, yeah, it was deceitful, but I would also say you should do what CPS told you to do and lawyer up, okay? And she's like, yeah, you know, my mother said something similar weeks ago, and I don't want to stop Piper from seeing her dad, but it's becoming clear this is going to have a negative impact on her life. Yeah, because, like, he waited until she decided to move on with someone else to then get bored and be like, what if I caused problems on purpose? What if I caused problems on purpose even though I barely ever see my kid? Like, it's very transparent in my opinion. But she's seething with rage. Which, fair, I guess. But she drives to Elliot's office. I'm like, girl, no, you're supposed to be lawyering up. You are not supposed to be causing problems. And they're like, Mr. Anderson's kind of busy. Do you have an appointment? And she's like, no, but I'm his ex-wife, Sabrina. And I need to talk to Elliot about our daughter, please. And she's trying to be polite, but she's like, because she's like, it's not this woman's fault that Elliot's a kid. Alright. Oh, and she's just like, oh yeah, go on up. He's on floor B, you know, room 3, like floor 3, room B. You got this. Like, I'll just tell him you're on your way. And she's like, thank you. The receptionist is a real one. And the elevator takes a hot sec, okay. And she gets in there. He's looking at her smugly. She slams the door and she's like, how dare you? And she thinks that he looks like the king of the fucking world. And she wants to punch him. Do it then. Don't be a coward. Well, check, are there security cams? And then do it. Sabrina's like, you had no right to call CPS on me and our daughter, and you know that. And he's like, oh, that's what this is about? Like, and how did Child Protection Services take the news about your D-slur girlfriend? How many times are we going to do this? I also just feel like it's lazy. I'm not saying that no homophobic people exist. I'm not saying that, but like, it's pretty lazy the whole time for these books to just do the same thing over and over to villainize them when they have plenty to be villainized over as it is. He's a deadbeat dad. He does not keep his promises. He does not pick his kid up. He does not get appropriate presents. He does not take care of her the way he should, mainly because of his new wife. And he doesn't pay enough child support, apparently. So what are we talking about? Like, he has plenty of, and he's a cheater. We've had plenty of reasons to hate him. Why do we have to add this on top of it? I'm tired. A lot of times, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I'm not saying it shouldn't be in any books. I'm just saying a lot of times, though, I feel like we, as readers, hop on into romance to escape daily life and how terrible it is, and to revel in someone else's love story. It's beautiful. It's fun, right? I don't want to see lesbophobic slurs in a book I'm trying to read every time. And it's not every time, but it's getting to be way too often, in my opinion. It's tiring. It's exhausting. We know that word exists. We know people use it against us. but like, why do we have to have it multiple times? Wasn't even just the once enough, you know? And she's like, hey, don't call her that. Why? I know it's a slur in this context, but it also is what Rhea is. So, I don't get, whatever. She's like, she's an amazing woman, and in the few months I've known her, she's proved to be a better partner than you ever were. You're just jealous.
And he happens to be the nicest bee I've met in a long time.
Long time? What are you talking about?
And he's like, jealous of you. You're the pathetic one. You're so needy that you can't even get a man. You had to resort to dating the same sex. Yeah, some men do think like this. It's embarrassing. It's like, I don't want to hear it from the group who as a majority can't find the clitoris, okay? You have no room to talk. She's like, I'm not pathetic and needy. And my relationship with Rhea has nothing to do with if I could get a man or not.
My hair color has nothing to do with my psychological problem.
I'm with Rhea because she's amazing and we care about each other. And if you cared about Piper, you'd be glad she has such a supportive role model in her life, but you don't care about her. And he's like, of course I do. She's my daughter as much as yours. And she's like, not for much longer. I'm hiring a lawyer to get full parental responsibility. You caused nothing but heartache to Piper, and you don't deserve a place in her life. And then she just doesn't even wait for him to reply. She stalks out and she's getting in the elevator to leave the building. And then she has the realization as she's walking out to the car that like, maybe it's the therapy that's helping, but, or the fact that I was in disbelief about Elliot calling CPS, but all of these problems were actually because of him, not me. Yes, yeah, you had about a 50-50 shot of figuring out who the common denominator is, and it took you 8.5 years or more to come to that conclusion. So, but she parks somewhere on a quiet street and she starts trying to find nearby family lawyers, and she finds one who charges reasonably. And she gives Rhea a text, just asks her to call her, and Rhea immediately calls her. Also, she's been giving her the nickname Brina. Why would you want that when her name is Sabrina? Sabrina is one of the best names ever, actually. Okay? Like, I think it's great. Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Sabrina the gym leader from Pokemon. Sabrina is a great name. Sabrina Carpenter. Why would you want to shorten it to Brina? Brina sounds like a kind of disgusting water you're gonna try. Like, what? Also, I had like a weird thought while I was high the other day. By the way, you're gonna get to meet Hi Shelby very soon. It's very exciting for you. But I was like, I think it's because I said Kathy so many times in one of my last rant reviews that I was literally like, man, I wish my name was Kathy, because I have like an Aunt Kathy. If I was going to be named after a relative, that would be cool. And then I had like this weird euphoric, like, oh my god, my name should have been Kathy. I still kind of feel that way. I've always hated my name. I don't want to train people to know a new one though, so like, but at the same time, I think I look way more like a Kathy than a Shelby. I don't know. Can't explain it. And she explains the whole thing. She's like, I'm fine, Piper's fine, but Elliot called CPS, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, CPS had no worries, but they want me to get a lawyer, so I'm doing that. And Rhea's like, good. She's like, but what? How did you have it out with Elliot, basically? Because she said that too. And she's like, I'm calmer now, and it was probably stupid for me to do that. But like, I don't know, I did. And she's like, well, she just confesses what she did. And Rhea's like, you're a better woman than me, because I would have punched him. Yeah. And she's like, also just be careful because he'll probably try to retaliate somehow. And they're like, we're big girls. We don't need to worry about Elliot. And Rhea's like, are you okay though? And she's like, Sabrina's like, yeah, I am. And he's toxic and I want him out of me and Piper's lives for good. And Rhea asks if she wants her to get Piper from school and then make dinner. And she says, yeah, that would be amazing. But she's heading over to the lawyer's office because she is going to get Elliot out of their lives. It's not really how that works, but okay. Chapter 21, Rhea. And Piper's not surprised. She's like, is mom caught up at the bakery? Is that why, like, you're getting me today? And she's like, yeah. And Rhea thinks to herself, normally I wouldn't lie to a child, but I'm gonna this one time. And Piper's like, oh, but I thought that you guys might be busy because CPS wanted to see me today. And Tegan's eyes go really wide and she's like, what does CPS want? Why do they know what that is? I didn't know what that is when I was a kid. The hell? And Piper's like, to see if I'm okay. And they asked about you and your mom and about my mom dating your mom. And she's like, Mom, can Child Protective Services stop you and Sabrina from dating if you work at my school? And she's like, no, Tegan. She's like, they're just checking to make sure everybody's happy. And she's like, can we play with Diana when we get home? Pretty please. And she's like, do you have homework? And they're like, yes. And she's like, well, I'll help you And then like Piper and Tegan are like, we can help each other with math and literature or whatever. Rhea's looking at them in the rear view mirror and being like, if only everyone was this accepting. Well, they could be, but we are terrible, so. And she's like, I can't believe he called CPS. He's vile. He called you a slur in front of his child's mother, his child's grandparents, his child's aunt and uncle, his child's stepmother / his wife, and then countless other families and kids who were there. And you can't believe he called CPS. He's so for real right now. He's who I would have thought of immediately. And we get this long thing about how like I'm cool with people having like 50-50 custody until they like are ruining someone's life. And I'm like, sure, I guess, but like also 50-50 doesn't work out all the time. So, and then we go into all these things that he did, but I already know what he did. I'm not even kidding. Like, can you see that big block of text that's a paragraph / an entire page? That's what that is. Why? We already have the plot of the book. You don't need to reiterate every single thing that happened for me to know what happened. I don't have a brain injury, okay? But they are allowed to play with Diana for a little bit, and then they wash up and have snack, and then they do their homework, which they're happy to do. And she's gonna start dinner, and she's making a chicken stir fry because Sabrina's having a hard day, and she's putting a bottle of wine in the fridge. She wants to help her relax. The doorbell rings, and she thinks it's gonna be Sabrina, but it's a red-faced Elliot. And she's like, how does he even know where I live? Which is a great question. And then he's like, you disgusting D-slur, you're not taking my daughter away from me. He's practically spitting at her. I think this author is a little too D-slur happy, okay? I do think that. Actually, there's this thing I like to do. So let's turn it into a game show. Do we think that this author is a lesbian? Put in your bets now in the comments. Let's find out. So if you voted no, along with me, you would be correct. She has a husband and identifies as queer. I can always tell. Sorry, I hate to say it, but I can. Because I've noticed that some bisexuals are very trigger happy over homophobic slurs because they're like, yay, I get to say them. Should you be allowed to say them? I think it depends. I truly think it depends. But I've never seen a lesbian in one of these kinds of romance books be so gleeful, almost, to use it as an insult repeatedly. To have everyone except the lesbian say it because she was only allowed to think it in that gigantic paragraph. When you know, you know. But Rhea slams the front door shut because she's like, I'm not letting the girls hear this. Good idea. She says, you need to leave now before I call the police. And he's like, call the police, I'll tell them you kidnapped my kid. And she's like, no, I did not, because Sabrina told me to look after her. He's like, I don't care if you defiled my ex-wife, which is a weird thing to say, because, alright. And he's like, good luck to you dealing with her clinginess, but I will not let you corrupt my daughter and turn her into a deviant like you. This is so heinous. What is this in here for? To make a stupid third act conflict that will have no bearing upon the actual plot. Not truly. And she almost bursts out laughing. And she's like, I suppose it's pointless telling you that being a lesbian can't be passed down to children or taught to them. And even if it could, there are worse things Piper could grow up to be. Like a bigot or a cheater. I'm like, oh. His eyes widen and his face is turning even redder. And she's like, any sympathy I had for him is vanished because he's gonna slap her. He's raising his hand to slap her. But she's a gym teacher and she catches him and twists it around, twists it behind his back. She marches him to his car as Sabrina is arriving. And she's like, what the hell is going on? And she's like, don't worry, Elliot was just leaving. He's like, you'll be hearing from my lawyers. Sir, you have like no case. You spend 0 time with this child, even though you're supposed to have 50-50 custody. You're not gonna win that. Like, it's not gonna happen. And then he says the D slur again, because one for good measure, I guess. Like, and he's like, I'll tell them you're an unfit mother who is shacked up with a crazy, violent D slur, and they'll take Piper away from you in an instant. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, okay? And Sabrina says, don't ever call the woman I love a D slur ever again. I'm so sick of this. Also, you haven't gone for a test ride. You know, you haven't saved a horse, ridden a cowboy. Like, how can you even know if you're like, I mean, I knew that I was gay without doing the do, but like, it certainly is enlightening. It does help quite a bit, but what do I know? And then she's like, wait, did Sabrina just say she loved me? You just did this to get a dramatic confession in front of the ex for no reason, just for the plot. But Elliot gets in his car and leaves. And Rhea's like, what did you just say? And she's like, I said I'm sorry he came and attacked you like that, but don't worry, like I'll report it to my lawyer. And she's like, yeah, that'll help your custody case, but that's not what I meant. You said, ugh. And she's like, yeah, that sort of slipped out, but well, I meant it, Rhea. I love you. Guys, this is so romantic. I am swooning. I am head over heels. I am losing my marbles. Can't you tell? I'm tee-heeing. Somebody save me. But Tegan starts yelling as they're making out because, you know, obviously Rhea says I love you too, that something is burning. And she's like, well, I left the dinner on. And she's just like, Sabrina, wait here, I'll deal with it. And they get the fire extinguisher and they're like, yeah, well, dinner's ruined, so who fancies takeout? And Sabrina's like, how about I call Dana and see if she can rustle up something for us? Like, I need to explain about earlier and talk to her anyway. And they're like, okay, sounds good. And an hour later, they're training the dog, and then there's a bag filled with food, and they're like, Dana really went all out. Yeah, thanks, Dana. And we really need to thank her for a lot of stuff. Okay, it's very good, hooray. When are you guys gonna clean up the fire extinguisher stuff, though? Because let me tell you, that's gonna make a mess. Like, Rhea asks Tegan if she's okay with Sabrina and her dating. She's like, yeah, Mom, why? Like, are you worried about, like, what Piper said about CPS? She's like, she told me while we were doing homework, and she says they're very nice, and asked if they were happy about you guys dating. And she's like, yeah, it was Piper's dad who said that. I don't know if you should be telling your child that. Because, like, we can know that he sucks, but I do truly believe that for a lot of things about your parents, you kind of do need to come to your own conclusion at some point. And I'm not saying that Sabrina can't tell Piper, because I do think that that's important. I do think that Piper deserves to know why CPS was bothering her on a school day. But, like, Tegan, in my opinion, does not need to know this information. And that should also be up to Sabrina and Piper, not Rhea, if you know what I mean. Like, it's very private information. But don't worry, Tegan's just sad that Piper's dad is mean. He makes Piper sad because he never keeps his promises, and when he does see her, all he seems to care about is work and the lady he married after Sabrina. And Rhea says, yeah, that makes me sad too because they deserve to be happy. I'm like, yeah, that is nice. Okay. Tegan's getting a little teary though, and she's like, if I had a dad like him, I wouldn't really want to see him. And why do nice parents die, but bad ones don't? And that's genuinely so sad. And she hugs her wife, she hugs her kid, and she's like, life isn't fair sometimes. She's like, but even when things suck, good people get second chances like me and Sabrina. No one will ever replace your mom. But maybe having Sabrina in your life and me being in Piper's will make some of that unfairness easier to deal with, which I think is fair. And Tegan's like, yeah, I think so, and my best friend wants to be my sister. And I'm like, okay. And Rhea's like, hey, I'm not proposing anytime soon, okay? And she's like, but if I did, or I asked them to move in, I think that you and Piper would be great with it, right? And Tegan's like, who are you kidding? I would love that. And we end the chapter with her saying that she's grinning at her daughter and an idea is forming in her mind. Chapter 22, Sabrina. She's now having a heartfelt talk with her daughter, Piper, and they talk about the CPS situation. And she's like, hey, Piper, promise me if you were unhappy, you would tell me, right? Like, I'd do anything for you. And Piper's like, yeah, Mom, I would tell you, but, like, you deserve to be happy too. And, like, come on. And Sabrina is like, I am happy, like so happy, but my happiness doesn't mean anything if you're not okay. And she's like, so don't you forget it. And Piper is like, I won't. She asked Piper what she would do if someone was being mean to her, and she's like, I'd tell a grown-up to make them stop. And she says, yes, that's the right thing to do. Like, okay, depends in my experience. She's like, if Rhea and I do anything to upset you, you can tell your teacher, you can tell Uncle Luke or Aunt Tasha or your grandparents or anybody. She's like, sometimes it's hard to do that though when someone you love does something wrong, especially when it means you might not be able to see that person anymore. And you need to ask people you can trust. And Piper's like, is this about what Dad said at the party? And she's like, yeah, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your dad called CPS and he showed up here earlier trying to fight Rhea. And I don't know how much you want to tell your 11-year-old, but okay. She says, why can't Daddy just let you and Rhea be happy? And Sabrina says, I don't know. I wish he would, and I think it would be easier for everybody. And she says, what he did was bad and could have caused a lot of problems. You only need to call CPS if you were genuinely worried about a kid. and how they're doing. And Piper's getting a little sniffly about it. And she says, hey, is it okay if I don't visit him anymore? All he ever does is make me sad, and he breaks promises and tells lies and says bad words, and I wish he wasn't my dad sometimes. And she hugs Piper and she says, I'm sorry he's done this to you. You deserve better. But I think it's best if you don't see him either. She's like, that's why I talked to a lawyer, so that I can have just full custody of you, and if the court agrees, he can't cause trouble anymore. And Piper sniffles a bit, but she's like, can I play with Tegan and Diana now? And she wants to say no because she wants to talk to her longer, but she clearly needs some time, so she's gonna let her. She's like, yeah, go play. And then Rhea asks her how she took it, and she's like, good, especially since she suggested not seeing Elliot herself before I even told her about seeing the lawyer. And he makes her feel sad by breaking promises and telling lies. And Rhea's like, yeah, Tegan said that she said something similar to her. And I know it's difficult, but I really do think you're doing the right thing. He's a negative influence in her life, you know? I'm like, yeah, I understand, but like, we didn't care about the negative influence until you started dating. And now, well, like, I'm not talking about Rhea specifically. Rhea obviously cared, but like, Sabrina didn't care that much either, because she would have done this a lot earlier if she actually cared about it, because there was a lot of repeated behavior that had nothing to do with dating, but now that he's being violent, saying slurs, that's too far. I think you need to care about your kid even when it's not benefiting you in some way. And she's just like, I don't know how Scarlett puts up with him, honestly. Like, well, that's her problem. And then there's some restlessness. Rhea is a little, you know, restless about it. Like, and she's like, what? Rhea, and she's like, I don't want to freak you guys out, but what if you guys like moved in, you're around here all the time, like, so it wouldn't make that much of a difference. And it makes Sabrina's heart pound, because she's like, some people might say it's too soon, that we haven't been dating long enough. I say that I say that there are 2 children involved, and that you should be even more cautious than you would be just by yourself. But what do I know? And she's like, well, I'll have to check with Piper. She's like, I would love to be here because we're here all the time anyway, and I meant when I said I love you. And then she says I love you back, and then they're kissing, and then they want each other real bad, but they break apart because the girls are in the living room and they're squealing, and then they sing Rhea and Sabrina Sitting in a Tree, Kissing. Like, first comes love, then comes marriage, and Rhea's like, do not finish that song. They're laughing even harder. And so she just asks Piper, like, she hasn't had enough huge changes for one day, to be like, do you want to move in here? And Piper looks really unsure. Tegan's excited, but she's like, Sabrina is like, it's okay if you're not ready to move, like, we can wait. And Piper's like, well, can I bring Marcus? And they're like, yeah, of course, that's your pet. She's like, do I get my own room, or do I have to share with Tegan? And they're like, you can do whatever you want to do. She's like, this will be your house, and I want you to be happy. Your mom's right, we can wait. And Piper's thinking about it, and she's like, if I have my own room, can I cover it with pictures like Tegan? And they're like, yeah. And then the 2 kids are grinning at each other like maniacs. And Sabrina's like, oh no, what are we doing? And Rhea's like, do you guys want to stop over tonight? And they're like, sure, but let's get home, feed Marcus, and then get some stuff first. And she's like, okay, I'll get the kids ready for bed. And they're running around dancing Kissing still. And they're like, if you guys can wash up and get ready for bed all nicely, you can play Minecraft for 30 minutes. And they're like, hell yeah. So Sabrina does the stuff she needs to do at home, you know, feed Marcus, the probably kidnapped frog. And she picks out, you know, clean clothes, whatever, grabs the stuff they need, yada yada. She's thinking, I love her, I love Rhea, I want to show her exactly how much. And she grabs a sexy night dress, and she just thinks, like, none of the guys I dated got to see the sexy night dress, but I think it's perfect for my first time with Rhea. Okie dokie, here we come. Jesus. Chapter 23, Rhea. The girls are brushing their teeth, and they're both very excited. They're like, we're gonna be sisters. And Rhea's like, okay, we need to slow down because Sabrina and me aren't married yet. And I want to talk to you about the whole moving in thing quick. Like, I know that they said if you're not ready, you don't have to, but I want you both to know it's a really big change. And if you're feeling unsure about any of it, you can just talk to us about it. And it doesn't even have to be me or Sabrina you talk to. It doesn't matter. And we'll listen and we'll try to help the best we can. It's going to take a while to get used to living together, but I think once we're settled, we'll be very happy. And Piper's like, yeah, you make my mom happy, and I wouldn't mind having you as my second mom. And their hearts are melting, or whatever. Woohoo. And Rhea's like, I'd be honored to have you as a daughter. And she wants to take her relationship with Sabrina to the next level. Yeah, I think it's kind of weird that you guys are like super excited to be moving in together, but you haven't done the nasty yet. Like, what if she's just actually genuinely not attracted to women? I know that this is my channel and therefore we know that she probably is. However, what then? She's moved in. That would be insane. But they can't wait to show each other how much they mean to each other. And I'm like, well, sex doesn't do that though. Sex is not like exclusively just like about showing how much you love people. You know what I mean? Like, oh, whatever. What do I care? I'm bringing logic into this. There's no logic in Romanceville. They're all excited because Sabrina's here. And, you know, Sabrina's back. She kisses her on the cheek. She's like, the good thing about moving is I won't have to come back and forth anymore. She's like, when do you think you want to move in? And Sabrina says, well, I paid till the end of the month. So let's see if I can get some time off in like 4 weeks and we can move then. I'm assuming she's also on a month-to-month because otherwise that would not work. And Sabrina makes sure, she's like, do you care if, like, she has the guest room? Because I feel bad about that for Piper. And she's like, no, like, I wouldn't have asked you to move in. My family could stay in a hotel or get an air bed for the living room or something. And she's like, I wonder if I should transfer Piper to Tegan's school so there's less traveling. And she asks Piper, and Piper's like, well, will I be in Tegan's class? And they're like, we do not know, but we could ask. And Sabrina's like, we can just wait until you start middle school next year. And Piper's like, is it okay if I wait until I go to middle school? Because it seems easier than moving to a new school right now, and then another one the year after. And I kind of want to finish with some of my friends there. And she's like, yeah, after that, after you graduate from, you know, elementary, we will discuss it, because we don't have to apply for middle school until after Christmas. See, this is supposed to be in the US, I'm pretty sure. No, it is. It is, because it's novel that Rhea is British. You don't sign up for public school the same way in the US as you would in the UK. Like, I do think you have to do something. I just don't know what that something is, you know? And Sabrina's like, yeah, we're all gonna be happy living here. And then Rhea is like, I was thinking that tonight when we go to bed that we could maybe, you know, like, and Rhea's like, are you sure you're ready? And she's like, I'm ready. I love you. I want to show you how much. Just teach me the ropes. And she's like, it'll be my pleasure. I mean, statistically speaking, in my opinion, it probably won't be your pleasure, but it's okay. They're like, girls, time for bed. She's like, okay, can I just talk to Piper alone first? And they're all like, sure. And as they're going up the stairs, Rhea checks in with Tegan and is like, are you sure you're fine with Piper moving in? She's like, yeah. She's like, I wish she would just come to my school now, but I get why she's not. She's like, besides, when Piper's living here, you guys are going to see each other all the time anyway. It will be fine. Might be nice to have a break sometimes. But Tegan just shrugs because she doesn't care about that. And they tuck the girls in, or they're leaving the room, and they're both happy that they're together. Hooray. And they're just happy that the girls are taking all of this well, and they don't want to step on each other's toes when it comes to parenting their own kids, and we don't want us living together to negatively impact Piper and Tegan's friendship. And they were thinking the same thing, so this is all gonna work out. Hooray. They go to the living room, and they're just doing some TV and putting it on for some background noise because they're not paying attention to it. Obviously, they want to go to Bone Town, you know, like, that's all they can think about. And once again, Rhea's like, hey, if you're not ready, if you need more time, just tell me, like, it's fine. And like, no, I'm ready. I'm so ready. I just want to make sure the girls are asleep. Fair. I'm like, I'm surprised you guys didn't try to get somebody to watch them, to be perfectly honest with y'all. Like, maybe we can just relax until we know that they're asleep. So Rhea's giving Sabrina a massage, but obviously this leads to like the moaning noises, so of course they're just gonna get bricked up immediately. And then they're kissing, and Sabrina says, I've never done anything like this before, but I figured I could just try to see how you react. I'm like, it's just not true though. You've had sex before because you have a child. Was it good? Probably no. Probably absolutely no. You said he was selfish, so no. That doesn't mean you don't understand at least the basic mechanics. Like, what are we talking about? Whatever. You have the same stuff. I know not everyone likes the same things, but like, you should have an idea, you know? But they're like, take me to bed. And Rhea scoops her up, carries her upstairs to the bedroom. That's a lot of work. Upstairs? Damn. Alright, chapter... What the fuck? I'm gonna try to say it the way it is. Chapter 24. It's spelled T-W-E-N R-T-Y. So 20, not have an R. And I know that's a typo, but I'm allowed to nitpick as much as I want on this channel, okay? they're going in the bedroom. They're thinking that they're gorgeous. But Rhea's taken off the jeans. And Sabrina says, stop. And she's like, okay, why? And she's like, well, I brought something to change into. Can I change into it? And she's like, you don't have to do anything special to impress me. You already have my heart. And Sabrina's practically swooning at her words. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Why? She's like, please, I want our first time to be amazing. Let me change. And she's like, okay, well, how about I sit and I close my eyes? And she's like, that's fine. But she just keeps staring at Rhea because she's fine with her big muscles and her legs are also the same. It's, I feel like a moderately sexy affair. The outfit, not the sex. The sex is about to be boring, probably, if I remember right. And she's like, you look amazing, checking her out. And then she's like, come here. And they're making out. But nobody has ever made Sabrina's body scream the way that Rhea does. Okay. Like, are we okay to keep going? There's ongoing checking for consent. The only reason why I feel annoyed about it is I don't like these characters, number one, and also, like, you haven't done much of anything yet. Like, I know it's fine if you do it. Like, in real life, whatever, that's fine. But, like, I'm reading this. I don't need, like, it feels really repetitive, you know what I mean? Like, in real life, sure, yes, check as many times as you feel necessary. But in a book, I care less. I mean, I still care. But, like, if you've done it once or twice, I'm not going, oh my god, shut up. But when you keep doing it, I'm like, oh my god, we know. Everyone is excited. Shh. It's the repetitiveness. Honestly. Don't worry, their limbs tangled as, you know, their mouths meet. Yay. And since we're in Sabrina's POV, we're thinking about how her former lovers only cared about their own pleasure. And I'm like, well, you were sleeping with men. And that's how it be. Just how it be. It's not that detailed either, but she lavishes attention on every inch of my body and brings me to an earth-shattering climax that has been what? I'm going to read this to you again, because what? Okay. She lavishes attention on every inch of my body and brings me to an earth-shattering climax that has been seeing stars against my eyelids. I think you mean has me seeing stars against my eyelids. Although against is still a weird word, I would say, like, but that could work. It's just a very clunky, weird way to say that. But she lets out a guttural moan at the end. Good for her, I guess. And then she's like, sorry. And Rhea's like, don't apologize, weirdo. She's like, I'm glad that I'm doing it properly. Like, just lie back and enjoy. And they're holding on to each other after. And then Sabrina's like, I've never been with a woman before. Inaccurate, because you just were, but okay. And she's like, can you show me what to do? And Rhea's like, it'd be my pleasure. I guess we'll find out. She does the directions, and then Rhea gets off also, and then they're like, was that good? And she's like, it was amazing. Okay. Very unrealistic. It's fine. It's what it is. I get it. I get why we write it this way. Doesn't mean I have to love every minute of it. But that makes her happy that she gave Rhea the same thing. Hooray. And they're waking up, but their alarms are going off like crazy. They're both sleeping. Don't you worry. Sabrina's heart feels full because she has a great job, an amazing daughter. Last night, I made love with my beautiful girlfriend who I'll be moving in with very soon. My life could not be better. And then they kiss each other good morning, and they're gonna shower, but Rhea wants to do something else instead, and Sabrina's like, hey, we don't have time because the girls are gonna be awake soon. And then they hear the dog and the girls making noise, and they're like, just kidding, they're already up. And Rhea's like, okay, fine, I'll take a shower, can you make me some coffee? And they're gonna do that. Hooray. Sabrina's gonna borrow a bathrobe, and they want French toast for breakfast. Now I want some, damn you. But she made breakfast for everybody, and Rhea comes down. It's a whole family affair, and they're gonna bring fresh baked bread back from the bakery today. Sabrina says that she has a long day at work, and that Luke and Tasha are going to be taking care of Piper, but I will call you on my break when I can, she says to Rhea, and they're hugging, and they kiss, and then they have to drag out their goodbye because they're in the honeymoon phase. And she tells Dana at work what happened, and Dana's like, your ex sounds like a jerk, yada. Like, we already knew what it was gonna be, you know? It's a little boring. She's like, I will not make a habit of closing the bakery too early. And she's like, hey, don't even worry about it. Those circumstances you could not have foreseen. It's fine. And then she heads on over to the bakery to get everything ready for that. She's prepping things for the lunchtime rush customers too. And Rhea texts her to be like, talk to Piper to see how she wants her room decorated. And then her lawyer is texting her, or calling, and he asks if everything is okay. And her lawyer, Mrs. Connolly, says, don't worry, Sabrina, everything's fine. I'm just letting you know that your application for full parental responsibility has been received by the court, and they're going to review it soon, which is not soon in the US because everything's slow, but okay. And they'll have your decision later this week. Yeah, you don't know how the US works, obviously. Like, we'll call when we hear anything. And she's just like, thanks, that's a relief, because Elliot came to Rhea's house yesterday and tried to hit her. And Mrs. Connolly's like, hey, can you like write a report of what happens between them so that I can send it to the court? I'm like, yeah, that's not how that works. They needed to have called the police, I'm pretty sure, because otherwise it's just he said, she said. So, but they're like, okay, we're gonna talk soon. She gets back to the bakery. Also, they're getting like, they give sandwiches, but it's a bakery. Why are you serving lunch? I'm so confused right now. But her old boss, Mr. Peterson, is here to have a turkey sandwich. And he's like, I wanted to see your new business venture and see how you're doing. And it looks like you're doing really well. And she says, well, yeah, thank you. And he also wants a box of donuts. And then he says, I want to apologize for how I treated you when you were my employee. And I saw that you were right and I was being inappropriate. I'm happy that you are doing so well for yourself, even though all that stuff went down with us. This is such wish fulfillment. What's next? Elliot is gonna turn himself into the police and be like, I filed a false CPS report, arrest me. Like, what? And I have video of how I assaulted her new girlfriend. Or tried to, at least. So like, it was trespassing for sure. So like, he put me in cuffs, officers. Like, what are we talking about? This is such wish fulfillment bullshit. And she wants him to have the sandwich and the donuts on the house, and he's like, no, I can't possibly. And she's like, no, I insist. And he's like, well, okie dokie. And I'm like, okay, so what? He's like, I'm going to tell everyone to come for lunch here. Like, bye. And she thinks like, this day just keeps getting weirder. Yeah, I agree, because this is some wish fulfillment BS. This is some like karmic justice that people do not usually receive. Chapter 25, Rhea. 2 weeks before they're set to move in, and they're decorating Piper's room. They sold everything they didn't need or put some stuff in storage. And the room is going to be painted 2 shades of purple. Okay. I had my bedroom purple in middle school. It was cute. And the girls wanted to help, but they're like, hey, the most helpful thing you can actually do is keep Diana out of the room. So I really want to know what kind of dog Diana is. But she and Sabrina are splitting who's painting what based on height. Good for y'all. And they do it quickly. They get takeout from the restaurant. They're reheating it. And then her lawyer's calling her. Sabrina's on the phone, and we're in Rhea's POV though, so she's like, I wonder what the lawyer wants. And Sabrina says they want me to appear in court on Monday to give evidence against Elliot. And they're like, that's really weird. It's like parental responsibility cases hardly ever call on parents to give evidence. Did Mrs. Connolly say why? Yeah, that's not how this works in the US at all. You're supposed to be at, I'm pretty sure, every frickin' court date when you're fighting for custody. That's one of the reasons why my mom didn't go back to court, is because the judge had signed the wrong paperwork, meaning my dad did not legally have to pay child support, even though the judge had ruled that he did. My mom couldn't afford to go back to court though. So she just kind of like shrugged and was like, I guess I have to do this by myself. Like, you have to go to every single thing. So they said, yeah, it's because of Elliot. They hired some hotshot lawyer to stop me, apparently, and his lawyer thinks it's necessary. We're both there, so I guess I'm going to court. And Rhea's like, do you want me to come with you? Like, I could get time off from the school if you need support. And Sabrina's like, if you think you could, that'd be great. I wouldn't usually ask you to take time off of work, but I think us going will show the judge a united front, you know, that we're prepared to both help raise Piper. And they're like, heck yeah, we're gonna do that, all right. And then they thank each other and they kiss again, and they eat lunch, and then they're back to decorating Piper's room. But there's an unspoken tension about how court is gonna go on Monday. They're almost ready now for Piper and Sabrina to move in. They do finishing touches on Sunday. I wish I could tell you that anything more interesting happens, but it does not. And they're spending the night like they do most nights, even though they are not officially there yet. And then Rhea calls the principal and asks for a day off and apologizes for the short notice and explaining an emergency has come up. I mean, I don't think you going with your girlfriend to court is really an emergency, but okay. And they're gonna get a sub. And Rhea's snuggling with Sabrina and saying, everything's gonna be fine tomorrow. And she's just like, I know, but you know how Elliot is like. Oh my God. oh my god, y'all. And Rhea's like, well, he just has to accept it because tomorrow you and I are going to fight for your happiness. And then they say they love you and kiss or whatever. And then it's Monday morning. They get the girls to school and they're getting in business attire. And Sabrina tells the girls they have court today because they're like, why are y'all so fancy? And Piper is like, what did Dad do now? Huh? Like, it's because of him, right? And I'm like, yes, girl, you're 11. I'm glad you put those pieces together. And she explains to them how they're committed to giving her the best life ever. And they're like, I know, because you're the best mom ever. And she's like, you're the best, but is like, does trails off about Rhea, obviously. And everyone laughs. And they're like, you guys gotta go because you're gonna be late for school. And then Sabrina says to Rhea, what did I ever do to deserve someone like you? She's like, well, maybe it's because you ran across a sports field in heels and you stole my heart. I was like, you thought she was like a lazy piece of shit who was just not on time for her daughter. Don't rewrite history. We were all there. But they're getting all their things together, getting ready to go at the courthouse as soon as they drop Tegan and Piper off. And they're going separately. So Tegan's like, Piper's dad won't take Piper away, will he? And she's like, not if I have anything to say about it. Like, Sabrina's a great mom. And Tegan's like, I'm so glad we met her. And it's not fair we lost mom when I was a baby, but having Sabrina and Piper living with us makes things better. I like having a family. I mean, you guys were a family before this. I really hate that kind of rhetoric. I know she's a child, but she's not a real child. She's a child written by the author. So she's like, I like having a big family too, and I know your mom would approve of this because I had a dream where she gave me her blessing. And I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? And she's like, yeah, I had a dream about mom too, and she told me. I'm like, you were a baby. You don't remember her. The hell? She's just like, you dreamed about her. And Tegan's like, yeah. She drops her off at school, and Elliot is getting out of his car at the courthouse, and Sabrina's getting out of her car, and she like pulls her into her arms, and she's just like, ignore him. And Sabrina's like, oh, I plan to. And I'm like, all right, damn. They take hands, they're going in, and they sign in at the courthouse, and they have to wait for a while till the court secretary calls them, and they have to wait in the same room as Elliot. But she's like, he seems to have the sense not to approach us. Good for once. And they just assume that he doesn't want to make a scene because he thinks that will make him lose the case. I'm like, yeah, it would, probably, yeah. But they're called to the courtroom. Sabrina's gonna plead her case, blah blah blah. And for some reason, well, it's just family court, so you are probably just talking to the judge, but I still think you have to like get up and testify or something, right? Like, tell me if I'm wrong. I've never been to family court, but like, whatever. She's answering the judge's questions, and Rhea is just watching Elliot, and he's getting more and more angry, but he's trying to like suppress it. And they say all the things we've already been saying, like, we're committed, we're not irregular like him. Tegan and Piper love each other very much. They're so happy to live together. Blah, 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 blah. And he always prioritizes his work or his new wife. Simple enough. He can't keep his temper in check, so he storms to the front of the court where Sabrina's standing, and he interrupts Sabrina and says, you're just jealous that Scarlett is a way better wife than you ever were, and that you're so bad at keeping a man, you've been forced to shack up with that D-slur back here. Why? It feels like almost a gleeful use of this word to paint a character as evil by an author who is, let's be real, largely unaffected by said slur. What the hell? What are we even talking about? Sick of this bullshit is what I am. But the judge is like, be seated, dude. Like, normally, I wouldn't recommend limiting either parent's relationship with their child, as I believe every child deserves to have both parents in their life. That sounds like weird right-wing political jargon, but okay. And he's like, well, after that outburst, it's pretty clear that it's been doing more harm than good. So the judge grants Sabrina full custody until Piper either reaches 18 and can decide for herself if she wants a relationship with her father, or until you can prove in court with the appropriate professional documentation that your behavior and lifestyle have changed so that your influence in her life is no longer detrimental to her emotional well-being. Elliot storms out of the courtroom, which I don't think that's how that works, but alright. And Sabrina's like, it's what I wanted, and I know that it's best for Piper, but I still hoped that Elliot could prove me wrong and show that he could be a decent father. And Rhea's like, I'm sorry, he's not able to do that, you know. And Sabrina's like, he's been failing her for 11 years. I don't see that changing soon, you know. And she's like, yeah, but you and Piper have me now. So, hooray. And it's not the same, but it's still good. Yes, we get it. Thank you. And they're like, I know I love you, and they kiss again. Chapter 26, Sabrina. They're finally moving, so it's 2 weeks later. And they donated a lot of stuff to thrift stores because, like, obviously Ria's house has furniture. And there are a bunch of items in the closet that they're getting ready for the moving that she hasn't seen in 10 years. And Ria is like, oh my god, is this your wedding dress? And it is. And she feels like when she's seeing it that she's kind of looking at someone else's memories, looking at someone else's life. She's like, I don't really recognize who that person is anymore. I'm like, yeah, because it's been like 10 years since then, so hopefully you're not the same as you were at 18, homie. It's just like this moralizing about, big moralizing gigantic paragraph again. But this one takes up like a page and a quarter. That is like, I've changed for the better. Hooray. I've grown and I've learned and I've changed. Yes. Thank you. Thanks. She's like, yeah, that is my wedding dress. What should I do with it? They're like, well, could like donate it, right? Because like, that doesn't mean another woman might not find happiness when she marries someone in this dress. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, Ria, I think that I would like something positive to come out of this wedding dress. And once again, they're like, I love you. I'm lucky to have you. Yada, yada. I know, but like, it wouldn't feel so daunting to me if they said the same things every freaking time about how much they appreciate love and are lucky to have this person. It wouldn't bother me so much because I know they're saying it at like important events for them, like moving and the court and the fight and the whatever, fine. But because we see so little of them just being normal people, we saw them go on one date. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like this is just what they talk about all the time. They just go in a circle forever and ever and ever, being like, I love you, I appreciate you, I can't believe it, I do not care. I get it. Thank you. Thanks. Repetition can help a story, doesn't help this one, that's for sure. She's like, I'm the lucky one because of Beth dying and it was awful, and then all the other women were not right for me and now you're perfect for me. I think it's so weird and bizarre to be like, thank God that you're cool and that you weren't as straight as you said you were, but I still was into you when you said you were straight. Like, I find it repugnant. I find it repugnant and weird, okay? But they changed each other's lives. Hooray! And they go over, I'm not even kidding, like a closing argument of a persuasive essay. All of the things that they've done for each other. And I'm like, I didn't need this because I read the book. I can remember that. Thank you. I don't need it again. They're so excited, and then they're finished packing everything up. The grandparents on Piper's side and Luke and Tasha, the aunt and uncle, are here to help them move because it'll be cheaper, and they're gonna sort through the 3 piles, which is basically take, donate, trash. Fine. And she's asking Piper if she's excited about their new house and the new room, and she is. They're gonna be training Diana all day and practicing soccer skills. But they call it football now. Okay. And they apparently had lots of chats about the new rules that there will be, but I'm like, we didn't get to see any of that, so like, alright, fine. And she's like, while Ria isn't officially your stepmother, you should still treat her like respectfully. And Piper's like, okay. She's still referring to Tegan as her sister, so. And they made a banner outside the new house, and it has Sabrina, Ria, Piper, and Tegan holding hands as stick figures, and it's beautiful. Like, okay. Piper's racing up to go in there, and they're gonna put his tank next to Kane's. They're gonna set him up. Hooray. And they have food, and they're gonna be unloading the cars. Glad you're at least feeding the frogs you kidnapped. And Sabrina's family's gonna be showing up anytime, so she's like, I gotta cook for my family. Hooray. They get everything unpacked and put away in a day. It makes me think you kept nothing. Holy sh*. They did like a charcuterie board. Okay. Thanks. And then the doorbell rings, and they go get it, and it's, again, Sabrina's family. We know. And they're like, welcome. Can we get you a drink? Yada yada. And then we just skip through the dinner, so I don't really know what the point of that was. Just to let us know that they have a good relationship with the family and that they're social, I guess. But it's 97% through this book, so I don't care anymore. You didn't hook me at any point, so like, what am I meant to do? But it's beautiful, apparently. Piper's room, and they give them a tour, and Luke had grabbed like a rainbow cake with white cream cheese frosting, and it tastes pretty good. She's like, where did you get this from? And he's like, do you believe if I got it from Walmart? And she's like, really? And they look at each other, and he's like, no, it's from your place, dummy. Like we asked the other baker, Michelle, to make it. And she's like, I should have recognized Michelle's skills. Why? Like, damn. But after dessert, the family's like, okay, see ya. They're getting the girls to bed, and when the girls are asleep, they're gonna snuggle. It's gonna be great. And they're so happy. And Rhea wants her to meet her family in England. And she's like, yeah, do you want to come with us for Christmas? Like, what do you think? And she's thinking, like, with the savings that Rhea and I will have by living together, Christmas vacation actually sounds kind of nice. And she says, I'd love to. I'd love to, I say, pressing my lips to hers. And once again, I marvel at how my life will be from now on, full of love, happiness, family, and adventure. I couldn't ask for more. The end. The acknowledgements page says, first of all, I want to you meant say, but okay. To all LGBTQ people out there, you are valid, you are loved, we see you, and we support you. Honey, where was the support for lesbians? Did you ask a singular lesbian how they felt about you writing the D-slur into your book 70 bajillion times when we could have gotten he was homophobic from the first one alone? Also, you expect me to think that this ex-husband is stupid enough to say it again in front of the judge? I know we already established he's flying off the handle, but like, was he really that much though? I feel like it was so contrived to just have this stupid third act conflict for no reason, because it really didn't have any actual bearing on the story, except that Piper's totally okay with her dad being cut off now. What am I meant to do with that? I don't know. I can't tell you, because it's stupid. Like, we could have had Piper come to that conclusion on her own. We could have explained to Piper what the D word was, and her be like, oh, my daddy said that, I don't want to spend time with him. But no, can't do that, can we? Nope. Also, there's a shout out to the editor. I'm not going to say who it is because I feel like that's mean, but they said you're the best editor in the world and a wonderful friend. You missed quite a few things in here. Can't lie to you. Oof. Like Grammarly or even just the Google Doc could have told you this. You messed up real bad in some of these places, but okay. They're non-binary, the author. Forgive me, author. I don't feel like I saw that on your website, but it is here. I might have just accidentally glanced over it. As a non-binary lesbian, though, I'm disappointed in you, homie. I hope you take this call in if you're here when you shouldn't be here as genuine, because I do mean it. Okay? So, maybe think to yourself about consulting some lesbians for once, maybe. Okay. Conclusion. I mostly thought it was boring. I thought it was boring, and then on top of that, I felt that the third act, my ex-husband is a humongous homophobe as well as a deadbeat dad, was very boring. I don't feel like it added anything to the actual story. I feel like it was trying to set up some conflict where there was none. And I feel like we really glazed over the actual conflict, which was Sabrina figuring out her sexuality, whether or not she was actually interested in Rhea. I also think the whole, like, getting really mad because she didn't tell you she was into you is absurd. Because most of the time when you say that to straight women, if you're a lesbian, you're getting the pervert allegations. So, like, I just, none of it spoke to me. None of it meant anything for me. I didn't have a very good time reading it. And thank God it was short. But it felt like one of those books where, like, on the iPad or the Kindle, you're swiping, you know, to the next page and the next page, but the number of the page at the bottom is staying exactly the same. That's how I felt the whole time I was reading it. So I gave this book 1 star. You don't have to like it. It's fine. If you liked it, good for you. I wish I could get some more good food in here. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave a frog emoji, because there's a lot of frog talk. Don't forget to comment what you thought about this one. If you loved it, hated it, think it was dumb, let me know. I love hearing about it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because it really helps the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!